Hello everyone, welcome to What If Naruto Was Abandoned by Konoha and Becomes the Whirlpool Empire movie. Before we start, please go support Javier Ramirez 042 for writing that awesome fanfic. Now let's begin. This is the translated version I made. There will be some wrong he or she calling here because it's translated, so let me clear this. Naruto is a male in this story. Prologue. The story begins just when our protagonist is waiting for the first test of the Chunin exams. Kabuto had already given information about Gaara, and Lee, and our hyperactive blonde, was frowning when he saw that no one had asked for his information. Although he knew that these idiots would not be interested in the improvement of the last dead man, and only saw him as a nuisance who should not even be in his group, but that would change on that day. Then everyone saw how the inspector from the first test appeared and said, "Keep your mouths shut, bastards." Everyone turned to see a certain jounin with scars, a scarf on his head and an unfriendly look, appear before everyone along with several ninjas with a threatening appearance. "Thank you for waiting. I am Mabuki Marino, the examiner of the first test of the Chunin exam. Sound guys, stop doing whatever you want before the exam. Do you want to be suspended?" Ibiki said with a sadistic smile. "Come on, we must take the test, come on. Sasuke-kun, I know that you will manage to pass this test without problems thanks to your wonderful mind. Naruto Baka, you better not mess up this test and make Sasuke-kun look bad or I'll kill you," Sakura said, looking at Sasuke with adoring eyes. But when she looked at Naruto, she was surprised to see him with his hand on his face and letting out small giggles that even the others noticed. The giggles increased in volume, causing the entire room to look at him in confusion, until finally, the room was filled with scandalous laughter from the blonde. This left everyone speechless and more confused, except for a certain Hyuga who strangely saw everything with different eyes, and Sakura shouted at Naruto, "Stop the jokes, Baka, you're making." However, Naruto only made a series of hand signs and his eyes strangely changed into 5-color eyes as he slammed his hand on the ground and shouted, "Uzumaki disguise seal, release." Instantly, a large column composed of the 5 elements covered him, leaving everyone surprised, and when the column disappeared, what they saw left them all with their mouths open. Before them was a tall boy with long blonde hair, with red locks tied in a ponytail over her shoulder. He wore a red kimono that showed off his well-defined pectorals with a cape similar to that of the 4th Hokage, but red with black flames and an orange swirl on the back. He also wore a sword with a red scabbard and hilt of the same color at his waist, and wore the Konoha diadem on his forehead. Everyone was staring at him with wide eyes, and even Ino was blushing at Naruto's new appearance. Most of them did not know what to say at what they saw, although Sasuke only looked at Naruto with contempt since he still believed that he was still the dobe and was beneath him. But Sakura was the only one who spoke to shout at him. "Enough with the joke. Naruto, take off that costume and go back to your stupid appearance with no future, which is what you will always be." But Naruto only opened his eyes and looked at her with eyes that she had never seen in him, while he said in a cold and icy voice, "I'm sorry to tell you, stupid, that I've already taken off my costume. That stupid Naruto with no future, the orphan Baka without parents who is just a nuisance, he was always a disguise." The pink-haired girl could only recoil from his cold words and tried to say, "But that can't be. You can't be anything other than a loser with no future who will always be a nuisance to us. That's what always." But Naruto only took out his sword and pointed it at her neck with a dark gaze while saying with a voice so powerful that it produced chills throughout the world and even some excitement in most of the kunoichis in the room. "Do not say anything. You are witnessing the rise of the one who was despised. I will make them engrave in their hearts the rise of those they thought had fallen. I will remove any doubt from your minds. I will show you the truth. That's what an emperor should do." Everyone looked at him with wide eyes upon hearing his words, and Tenten asked, "An emperor?" Sakura tried not to look at those eyes filled with so much hatred towards her, but Naruto's cold voice stopped her. "Don't look away. They are all witnessing the re-emergence of the Whirlpool and the birth of their new empire." Everyone looked at him with more confusion, and Sasuke said arrogantly, "You better shut up and go back to your place, dobe. No matter what you do, you will never be better than an Uchiha. But Naruto just looked at everyone and said in a calm and cold voice, "Do not worry. This idiot will no longer be a nuisance. I will finally stop being in a group to which I do not belong. The dobe will no longer be a hindrance in their lives. Baka will no longer be a headache because of his insistence on making appointments. Don't worry, that ends today." With that, he removed the Konoha band from his forehead and looked at it with neutral eyes as everyone looked stunned. Then, to everyone's great surprise, he threw it to the ground and slammed his foot into it, breaking it in two before the astonished gaze of her companions. Somehow Sakura and Ino were in tears seeing how Naruto had despised the village with each of his actions, and others how Sasuke and Neji were just watching with his usual arrogant expression, thinking that Naruto was still weaker than them. Naruto just reached into his kimono and pulled out another ninja headband that had a swirl on the plate. He placed it on his forehead and said with a strange happiness, "Now yes. I am who I always had to be, and I will be with those who really appreciate me. I don't have to hide with that damn mask anymore. I won't have to put up with these damn idiots spewing their hate at me anymore. I will no longer have to be the buffoon of these stupid classmates at the academy who never treated me well, and I will no longer have to put up with a stupid screaming girl and ignorantly beating her up just because of her stupid fanaticism." At these words, Sakura felt great pain in her heart and fell to the ground while clutching her chest. Well, the little she has. Then, Naruto looked at everyone with cold eyes as he said, "Well, now the time has come to get out of this village full of ignorant, stupid people." However, he took one last look at Sasuke as he said with an evil smile, "But before I leave, I must tell you this, Uchiha, unfortunately you will not be able to reach your goal. By leaving this exam and this village, you two are left without the third member of the team, and therefore you will not be able to take the Chunin exam. I'm sorry, your highest Uchiha, but without me, you won't be able to rank up and you won't be able to get stronger. It's a shame. Oh, and on top of that, without me, their team will be incomplete, so it's very likely that they won't be ninjas for a while either. After all, a genin team is made up of 3 members and the entire team is necessary." Sasuke was looking at Naruto with eyes filled with pure hatred, and Sakura was looking at Naruto with pure pain, not believing that he would be able to do something like that to them. "It's a real shame for you, but not for me. After all, I don't need to be a chunin in this stupid village, when I'm already a jounin in my real home anyway. Good luck without my presence, idiots," Naruto said while he made a seal with his hands and his eyes took on the 5 colors of the elements. "Naruto!" Sasuke shouted, trying to attack him. However, the same explosion of the 5 elements covered the blonde, shaking the entire room, and when it dispersed, everyone could witness how the blonde, who they had seen as a simple idiot, had disappeared with a wonderful move. Sasuke looked at the place where the blonde had been with eyes full of anger, but he composed himself as he said, "No, calm down, Sasuke. That dobe was just talking stupid things. I don't need it to be able to do this test." However, Ibiki coughed a little and everyone looked at him curiously. "I'm very sorry, Uchiha, but the Gaki was right. The participation of all 3 team members is mandatory for them to take the test. How the Gaki left, you are in an incomplete team, and that is why you are no longer allowed to take the Chunin test," Ibiki said with a very serious expression. Sasuke looked at him in disbelief and then yelled angrily, "That's a lie, I am an Uchiha, they can't prohibit me from taking this test or—" However, he fell to the ground when he felt Ibiki's murderous intent, who looked at him with very cold eyes and said, "Know your place, brat. I don't care if you're an Uchiha, I'm the one in charge in this test here. I am God and you are nothing more than a cockroach in my domain. Now you and your partner, get out of here or I'll kick you out." Sasuke gritted his teeth at this and was about to leave with Sakura following him while thinking about everything Naruto said, when Ibiki stopped them. "Wait, go to the Hokage's office to be told your current ninja status. What the Gaki said is true. Without him, it is now in question whether they are still ninjas or not. Go to his office so he can tell you what state his team is in." Sasuke gritted his teeth at these words and left the room while he only had one thought. "I'll kill you for this, dope." Among those who would take the test, a certain woman with the grass gang watched Sasuke leave with a malicious smile and thought, "Kukukuku, maybe all is not lost. I still have the chance to bring him my way after the invasion. After Sasuke left, Ibiki looked at Kiba's team and said, You, teammate, have to abandon the exam too. But why? We are all present. Kiba shouted without understanding. Kiba, look at Hinata. Shino told him neutrally. Kiba looked in Hinata's direction, seeing that no one was there, and said to Shino, She is not. Shino nodded to his answer silently, and after a long moment, Kiba looked back at Hinata's empty place to shout, Hinata is not here. And indeed, she was not in the room. What happened? Where is Hinata? Ino asked, worried. You didn't notice it, but I did. When Naruto-san faded away, Hinata faded too, but in a swirl of purple petals. Apparently Hinata was aware of Naruto-san's truth, and she was part of saying goodbye to him. In my opinion, Hinata and Naruto have been together from the beginning and both plan to leave Konoha in these exams, Shino said naturally. This shocked all the members of the Konoha Genin, and Kiba let out a sigh as he said, Well, if she decided to go with the boy she loved, we can't do anything. But what are you saying? Aren't you angry that you can't take the exam and that you can't possibly be a ninja? Ino yelled at him, not being able to believe what he saw. I'm sad about that, I can't deny it. But more than that, I'm happy that Hinata decided to go with the boy she loved. After all, she is like a sister to me, and I always knew that she had a crush on Naruto. I know that he can make her happy and that she will be in a place where she will be treated better than here, since her father and her stupid little cousin hate her. Maybe I will lose my status as a ninja, but if it is so that poor Hinata can have what she always wants, I am willing to sacrifice, Kiba said with determination. Ino couldn't help but think the same thing. She knew about Hinata's feelings for Naruto and previously thought she was stupid for choosing a loser over Sasuke. But now that she passed this, she realized that the Hyuga girl had chosen better than her. She sighed deeply and said, I envy you so much, Hinata. You are now with a handsome boy who really loves you, while I am still alone chasing a boy who never gave me a look. I think it's my punishment for what I did to Naruto. Thus, the rest of the teams began to sit down to take the exam, while some lamented the blonde's departure, and wondered what he and Hinata were doing. Meanwhile, one of the examiners approached Ibiki and whispered, Ibiki-san, what should we do about what happened with the Kyuubi boy? The council will not be at all happy with the news that he abandoned Konoha. Ibiki just smiled with amusement and said, We will inform Hokage-sama about what happened. Actually, I'm looking forward to what will happen from now on. Something tells me that that boy is about to cause a real storm, and I want to be in the front row when that happens. After the second test, Hiruzen had a painful headache. First, they informed him that Naruto, the boy who saw a grandson, had disappeared from the village along with Hinata Hyuga. The news spread like wildfire throughout the village, and most of the villagers began to celebrate that the demon had left the village. He was furious at his joy and celebration, but he could do nothing to remove the party from him. On the other hand, he had to deal with the Hyuga elders who had entered his office to demand that he find the Hyuga heiress and hand her over to put the caged bird's seal on her as punishment for her rebellion. Strangely, Hayashi was with a neutral expression, but the old Hokage could see a small smile on her face, and that made him suspect that he had been involved in the disappearance of her daughter. Likewise, he had to deal with the Konoha Council since they were really furious about what happened. This is what happened at the meeting. Flashback. This is unforgivable. That damned demon must pay for thwarting Uchiha-sama's appointment to Chunin. He must be found and then executed, a civil advisor shouted with fury. At the meeting, there were the civilian counselors with Mabuki Haruno included, although she only remained silent as she watched everything with a frown. The shinobi sighed, which was in her thoughts, and the elders, who were in the same way as the civilian. Hiruzen, we warn you that leaving Konoha's weapon unchecked would lead to this. You should have left him to Danzo to educate him and turn him into the weapon he always should have been, Kohara shouted with anger. Hiruzen only rubbed his temples because of the headache that was increasing and said seriously, I already told you that I would never allow a poor child to become a weapon without emotions. He was a little baby back then, and he deserved to live like a normal child. He's a demon. He was not and is not a human child. He had to be executed for killing all those people that night. A fat counselor from the civil side shouted. You shut up, you're just a stupid fat civilian who doesn't know anything about ninjas. Don't you know that if it weren't for the puppy, you wouldn't be alive? He is only the Kyuubi's prison, not the Kyuubi himself, some shouted, already tired of this. Do you dare to yell at me, a civil counselor? Know your place, the fat man shouted furiously. But he felt Sum's murderous instinct and trembled with fear when he saw her with her fangs snarling at him. Now I'll kill you, damn you! She screamed, trying to throw herself at him. Sum, stop it, shouted the Hokage. The Inuzuka matriarch stopped and looked at the Hokage with cold eyes. Hiruzen just looked at the councilman with the same look and said, I remind you that this is a shinobi village, and that you are only in charge of civilian affairs. Therefore, if you have nothing to say regarding these matters, it is best to keep your mouths shut. The counselor could only nod in fear at the Hokage's murderous gaze, and the Sandaime sighed to say, regarding the disappearance of Naruto, Uzumaki, and Hinata Hyuga, I can only say that they made their own decision. They have acted according to what this village has done to them, and were free to make their own decisions. Unfortunately, we can't do anything since they have completely disappeared from our track and we don't know where they are. The best thing will be to continue with our lives while we try to find them to reach an agreement with them. Are you serious, Hiruzen? That brat is Konoha's weapon. You have to follow our orders, Danzo shouted angrily. Hiruzen looked at him with neutral eyes and said, I have bad news for you, Danzo. According to what Ibiki told me, Naruto-kun uttered some words that alerted me. Everyone is witnessing the resurgence of the Whirlpool, and the birth of his new empire. This caused commotion in the meeting, especially Danzo since he knew what those words meant. Hiruzen just took a drag on his pipe and said, those words were addressed not only to us, but also to the entire world. They have returned. The Uzumaki clan and the Yuzu village have been reborn from the ashes. Findel flashback. The old Hokage couldn't help but think that this village deserved what it had happened. They had treated Naruto in such a cruel way that he had had enough. And about poor Hinata, he knew that Naruto had taken her to give her a better life. That girl loved him with all his heart, and if Naruto had hidden his great potential all along, it was no wonder that he had realized the girl's feelings from the beginning. Therefore, they were together from the beginning and planned their escape from the whole world. Something romantic, really. But that was not all. After the second test, it was discovered that the two of them were not the only ones who disappeared. Reports reached him that Anko Mitarashi, Hana Inuzuka, Yugao, Kurina Yui, and old Tsuchi with his daughter from Ichiraku Ramen had also disappeared out of nowhere without warning. He would understand if only old Tsuchi and his daughter had disappeared since they were the only people precious to Naruto. But the Ice Queens? I couldn't understand that. He was now in the third test as he looked at those who had managed to pass the second test with a sad look while wishing that his surrogate grandson was among them. Shikamaru's team and Niji's team managed to advance to the third test with effort, and were now waiting to take the last test while thinking about a certain blonde. Except Niji, who only kept thinking that it was still his destiny to be the winner. Little did they know that a big storm was coming. Meanwhile, in a certain hidden part of the world, a certain blonde was observing the city from the window of the tower where he was, when he heard the sweet voice of his beautiful angel. Thinking about our exit, love? He turned to see a beautiful young woman with long black hair with a bit of purple tied in a ponytail, and a tight lavender kimono that showed off her beautiful figure. Something like that. I think I'll have to come back soon since they are in danger, he said with a serious expression. The young woman looked at him with an angry expression and said angrily, after what they did to you, Naruto-kun, they should rot in that attack that snake is planning. Naruto looked at her with warm eyes as he caressed her chin lovingly and said in a warm voice, I know what they did to me, but it's still the place where I was born. I hate the villagers for what they did to me, but I will not let the village where I was born be destroyed by the ambitions of two ignorant people who only wish evil for the world. I will help you when that invasion happens, but then I will leave and never return. After all, I won't let the old man be killed by that snake since he was a grandfather figure to me. Then, he gave the young woman a loving kiss with so much love that it caused her to fall into his arms, and when he finished the kiss, he looked at her with a smile as he said, "Besides, I don't think you want your little sister to be hurt. I promised you that he would bring her here when the time was right, and your father agreed, so I must protect her from her in that invasion. Would you let your little sister die, Hinata?" Hinata Hyuga could only lower her head and hugged her lover while saying, "That's why I love you, because you worry about what I worry about too. Okay, go and protect the village. But don't you dare be merciful to any of our companions, because otherwise you'll see what will happen to you." Naruto broke out in a cold sweat at the threat and nodded as he said, "At your command, your majesty." After all, he was the Whirlpool Emperor, but more terrifying was the Moon Empress because even her emperor is afraid of her. Chapter 1: The Invasion. After the event where Naruto had left the village with a few other people, the exams continued as normal. After the preliminaries of the third test, there was a month to prepare for the finals in the tournament where the feudal lords would be present as well as the Kazekage. Among the finalists were Shikamaru, Niji, Choji and the Sabaka brothers, but those who were going to watch the finals were furious that the young Uchiha would not participate, and the villagers blamed Naruto upon knowing what he did. However, Sasuke received a visit from a certain Snake Sannin, who had offered him the power to demonstrate his superiority in the tournament, and to take revenge on both his brother and Naruto. The Uchiha immediately accepted, and the next thing that was known about him was that he disappeared without a trace. Sakura was in a sad state since she was still thinking about Naruto's words and was analyzing everything he had done to her in her life. She felt like absolute shit when she realized that he had been a disgusting person to him, and she couldn't help but understand why he had been so cold to her when he left. If someone had done to her what they did to the blonde, she would be much worse, and she had to be grateful that at least she had been a little gentle with his disdain. As for the others, Shikamaru, Kiba, Choji and Lee understood Naruto's reasons for leaving and did not criticize him, while Niji was of the opinion that Naruto was a weakling who had abandoned the village to escape his destiny, and that his cousin was just as weak when leaving the clan. Tenten was neutral as she had not met either of them, while Ino was thoughtful as she imagined what would have happened if she had been nicer to the blonde, and she scolded herself for never having at least tried to be her friend. On the other hand, the Hokage was in a lot of trouble since with the disappearances, he had too much paperwork to deal with. One thing he had to scold the blonde with since he was suffering a lot with this hell. Although he was imagining the blonde laughing at him while eating a bowl of ramen wherever he was, and that made him even angrier. However, he was preparing everything for the finals, but something told him that something very bad was going to happen. Meanwhile, in the place where Naruto now lived, the blonde was at a desk in front of a huge pile of paperwork, and with 4 copies of him taking care of said enemy. Ah, what a relief it is to know the multi-clones of Shadow's jutsu. The most effective solution against the enemy of every leader, paperwork. I feel sorry for the other leaders who, despite knowing the jutsu, are not intelligent enough to discover what the solution is to such a powerful enemy. Well, this way I can relax while reading my ninja novel. It's much better than that Ika Paradise crap and more informative, he said as he relaxed in his seat while reading a novel with a red cover. The day of the tournament. Everything was going on normally in the tournament, and some fights had already happened, such as Shikamaru's fight against Niji where the Nara lost to the Hyuga, Choji's fight against Temari where the blonde beat the chubby guy, and Kankuro's fight against Gaara where the puppeteer was defeated. Withdrawal. Now they were about to begin Niji's fight against Gaara since the blonde had also retreated for fear of his brother, but when everything was ready for the fight, someone fell into the sand like a bolt of lightning. What is happening? The Hokage shouted with fury. Everyone was upset by the intrusion, when the dust dispersed and before everyone stood Sasuke Uchiha himself in an outfit that resembled that of a certain Snake Sannin but in purple. Sasuke-kun? Ino and Sakura asked each other without understanding what was happening. Sasuke Uchiha? Why are you here? Hiruzen shouted angrily. But the Kazekage stared at him with fixed eyes as he said, Hokage Dano, could you not allow the young Uchiha to fight my son? Hiruzen looked at him with wide eyes at that request and asked, But what are you saying, Kazekage Dano? The Kazekage just narrowed his eyes and said, Look at the feudal lords. Hiruzen looked at them, finding that they were more excited by the Uchiha's entrance than by the combat they had been watching previously. If you allow Uchiha-san to fight against my son and then fight against the Hyuga if he manages to win, you will obtain their favor. In addition, both villages will receive more missions and it will benefit us greatly. The Kazekage told him with an eye smile. Hiruzen gritted his teeth as he felt trapped and letting out a sigh, he announced to everyone. Attention! I have decided to make a change to the tournament program. I have decided to allow Sasuke Uchiha to fight Gaara of the desert for the enjoyment of all of you. If he manages to win this battle, he will fight Niji Hyuga in the finals. I hope you are pleased. The moment he said these words, everyone applauded with joy, something that made the Hokage's teeth grind even more at his damn hypocrisy. He sat down in his seat and let out a deep sigh as the Kazekage said, You have made the right decision, Hokage Dano. Sasuke just looked at Gaara with an arrogant smile as he pulled out his sword and said, Prepared to lose to the power of the Uchiha. Gaara just looked at him with a murderous smile and said, You will serve to prove my existence. Little did they know that this would be the beginning of hell. At the end of the battle, Sasuke was launching himself against Gaara's sand sphere while his sword was flashing with the chi-dori he imbued into it. He pierced the sphere with it, and everyone could hear Gaara's scream from inside and then saw how the sphere exploded. Sasuke was thrown into the air and when he landed, he could see how the redhead was holding his shoulder, while he shouted angrily, Blood, it's my blood. Instantly, Gaara's body began to be covered in sand and his arm as well as part of his face turned into a sand-like substance, turning into something similar to a monster. At that moment, several feathers fell throughout the stadium and most of the audience fell asleep due to a genjutsu. Some like the Jounin, Sakura, Shikamaru, the Sabaku brothers and the Kages managed to stay awake. In the Kage's box, the Kazekage appeared behind Hiruzen and pointed a kunai at his neck as he said, It's been a while, sensei. Hiruzen opened his eyes at these words and said coldly, I should have imagined that this would be your thing, Orochimaru. Surely you appeared before Sasuke and tempted him with power to fulfill his revenge. I imagine that when Naruto-kun left Konoha, you had to modify your plans to get what you wanted. Orochimaru smiled evilly and said maliciously, Always so insightful, sensei. But now nothing is going to save you from your death, and when I manage to destroy your precious village, I will go for Naruto-kun to obtain both the Kyuubi and his power. Hiruzen gritted his teeth, and moved nimbly for his age to escape the Sanin's clutches. Being away from him, she took off her Hokage outfit to reveal a battle armor as she said, I will never allow you to destroy this village and I will never allow you to go after Naruto-kun. I will kill you first to make amends for my mistakes. Orochimaru smiled like a snake and said with emotion, We'll see. Let's prepare everything for our fight, sensei. Near there, someone was at the Hokage monument while looking at the entire panorama in the village and said, I guess it's time to act. And he disappeared in the direction of the stadium. Back at the stadium, Gaara was attacking Sasuke uncontrollably, who was dodging all the sand shurikens he threw at him. Stay still, Uchiha. I must prove my existence, Gaara shouted madly. Sasuke just lunged at him and cut him on the arm while saying, I am an Uchiha, the elite. We don't obey anyone, everyone must obey us. Gaara threw his arm towards him to kill him, but the Uchiha just looked towards the stands with an evil smile. Instantly, a certain pink-haired girl found herself in the sand and saw how a monstrous arm was heading towards her to kill her. What's that? I don't want to die, she screamed in terror as she closed her eyes. However, she did not feel anything of death, and when she opened her eyes, she could see how a certain blonde was in front of her, while a wall of water stopped Gaara's arm. Naruto? Sakura said, recognizing her savior. Sure enough, Naruto Uzumaki was before her as he continued to look at Gaara with ocean blue eyes that gave off a lot of power. Make no mistake. I only saved you because the despicable Uchiha had the malice to use the Kawarimi on you to save himself. I do this so that you do not die due to the cowardly action of your precious Uchiha, said the blonde with a cold tone. Sakura looked at the stands to find Sasuke standing where she had been as he glared at Naruto. She looked at him with disbelieving eyes and then gritted her teeth as she screamed. Damned unfortunate, after everything I was willing to do for him, he used me like that to save me. Naruto looked at her with neutral eyes, but a small smile appeared on his face as he said, I'm sure that if you ask him why he did it, he will answer that you should be honored that you at least serve as a sacrifice to preserve the life of a member of the wonderful Uchiha clan. I hope that with this, you at least realize that you were chasing someone who didn't value your life the way you want. Sakura lowered her head in pain and said with tears, You're right. I've been completely stupid, and not just for having gone after someone who is a disgusting person, also for what I did to you, Naruto. Please forgive me. I need your forgiveness. I need to hear that you forgive me and that you don't hate me to have peace. Naruto just gave him a neutral look and said, I'm not the one who should forgive you, Sakura. You are the one who should forgive yourself for being so horrible to everyone. It wasn't just me, Ino, Choji, Shikamaru, Kiba, Shino, and even the others at the academy. You despised them all just because you saw them as inferior to Sasuke and believed they were nobody. I'm sorry, Sakura. But you will need much more than my forgiveness to be at peace. For my part, you can rest assured that since I always had a mask, your contempt did not affect me so much. I forgave you from the beginning, since the only thing I felt for you was pity for your blindness. Now you must fix your actions for which you should apologize. Then he looked at Gaara, who was smiling evilly at him, and said, For now, I better take you to a safe place. I have to take care of this man, and then save the old man. See you another time, Sakura. He threw a paper towards the pink-haired girl, which shone brightly, and she screamed desperately, Wait, Naruto. But it disappeared into the light, and Naruto looked at Shukaku's unstable Jinchuriki seriously. You are a very wild tanuki. I guess we'll have to educate you to control yourself, won't we, Kurama? He said with a foxy smile. Ha! Let's go, buddy. I can't wait to play with stupid tanuki, Kurama said inside him. Instantly, an orange layer covered the blonde completely, illuminating the entire stadium. Kakashi saw it, and couldn't help but see his sensei in Naruto as well as a few others. Sasuke saw this with anger and shouted, Are you still trying to put yourself above me, an Uchiha? I will show you that you are nothing before my clan Dobe. He launched himself towards the blonde, who only remained in his place without moving, and when he was about to cut him with his sword, a gust of wind threw him towards a wall. Poor upset Uchiha. Looks like you couldn't get close to me. Are you okay, or did the blow leave you more emo than ever? Said the blonde with such a mocking tone. Sasuke came out of the hole in the wall while gnashing his teeth and lunged at the blonde again to kill him, this time while black lines covered his body. However, he was stopped again by a wind barrier while the blonde continued to pay attention to Gaara's movements, who was throwing sand shurikens at him, but a water barrier prevented him from doing so. What the hell? Sasuke shouted when he saw this. Surprised? You'll think I'm controlling both barriers at the same time, but I'm not. In reality, I only control that of the water while that of the wind acts of its own volition as if it were protecting me. The explanation is because the wind is my born element, and the Uzurigan causes it to have a kind of life of its own with which it protects me. That way, while I control the water element, the wind element acts by itself to protect me, Naruto said while he continued without looking at him. Then, the wind rushed against the Uchiha as if it were full of fury and threw him away while the black-haired man felt how he was cut by the fury of the wind as he left the stadium. When the Uchiha left, Naruto looked at the Kage's box to see the barrier where he could sense the old man and performed his favorite seal. The judgment of the Kage Bunshin Grito L. Instantly, 4 clones of himself appeared in puffs of smoke, and he told them seriously, You 4 will be enough. 1 will go to the village to fight the invaders, the 2nd will go to evacuate the villagers, the 3rd will go to help the Jounin in the stadium, and the 4th will go to that barrier to help the old man. I'll take care of the Tanuki so it doesn't continue causing damage, and when this is over, we'll leave here. Do you understand everything? Said the original seriously. At your command, boss, said the 4 clones with a military salute. Instantly, the 4 spread throughout the village, and the first 3 made their trademark seal. The judgment of the Kage Bunshin. With that, a large number of clones spread throughout the village while a few helped the jounin who were in the stadium. The fourth stood in front of the barrier and said to the umbus, "You are useless. Instead of standing there and watching the battle with popcorn, they should act. I guess I have to do everything myself." This surprised the umbus and they watched as the blonde made a few hand seals and said, "Fuinjutsu Uzumaki, barrier infiltration." Instantly a mark appeared on his hand and he placed it on the barrier to open an opening. The umbus watched in disbelief as the boy entered the barrier without problems, and then the opening closed behind him. Once inside, he could see the Hokage fighting what looked like the revived corpses of the first and second Hokage, Hashirama and Tobirama Senju. "I see you have problems, old man," the blonde said with a smile. Hiruzen and Orochimaru looked at him in surprise and the Hokage said happily, "Naruto-kun, I thought he would never see you again because We'll talk about that another time. Old man, first let's finish off this snake so that it no longer continues crawling on the ground," said the blonde while he looked at Orochimaru coldly. Orochimaru only smiled at the blonde's words and said with an evil laugh, "Kukukuku, I'm happy you're joining us, Naruto-kun. After your magnificent farewell to this village, I was interested in you. I am eager to take you to my village and perform many experiments on you." The blonde shuddered at those words and said, "I feel harassed. The best thing will be that I eliminate you and then go to use this so that Hinata can take away this discomfort from me as only she can do it." The Sannin smiled even more and said, "Kukuku, it's good to have a nice relationship with a nice girl. What do you think if you also invite her so that you both can enjoy a wonderful stay in my laboratory like my laboratory specimens?" At this, the blonde changed his countenance, and the next moment, the entire area trembled while the other two saw how the 5 elements materialized everywhere as if they were responding to Naruto's fury. "You will pay for those words, pedophile. No one threatens my Empress of the Moon without receiving punishment from her," said the blonde while he showed his eyes in which were the 5 colors of the 5 elements. Back at the stadium, the original Naruto was faced with an angry Gaara, who was increasingly transforming into Shukaku and throwing sand everywhere at him. "I guess we have to find a way to fix that unstable seal so the boy doesn't continue like this. The best thing will be to find the right time for that, and the only chance is when he is weakened. What do you suggest, Kurama?" said the blonde while he dodged the redhead's sand shurikens. I think the best thing will be to use the water element to weaken the Tanuki's sand and then use the lightning element to affect him when he is wet." "It could work," said the fox thoughtfully. "Sounds good. The team managed to hurt him with the lightning element, and if we combine it with the water element, we might have a chance." "Let's do it," Naruto said with a smile. Thus, his eyes turned an oceanic blue and a whirlwind of water formed in front of him. Gaara saw this with a manic smile and shouted, "Ya prove my existence, Uzumaki." He sent a large amount of sand like a wave towards the blonde, but he only sent the whirlwind of water to turn it into mud. Gaara wasted no time and launched himself with his sand claw to kill the Uzumaki, but the blonde only appeared before him with a ball of water that hit the redhead's arm. With the impact, the sand arm turned to mud and Gaara saw this with fury. However, he didn't have time to do anything as Naruto's eyes changed to sparkling blue and his hand became covered in multiple beams in the shape of a sword. "Chidori no Ken, sword of 1,000 birds," the blonde shouted as he attacked the redhead. The lightning sword hit Gaara's arm, who roared in pain and moved away from the blonde while howling in agony. Naruto saw this as an opportunity and rushed towards him while preparing his hands to modify the redhead's seal. However, Gaara made a specific seal and shouted, "Tanuki Nairi no Jutsu feigned sleep technique." Gaara's head fell limply as if he were asleep and instantly, a huge amount of sand piled up beneath him as he took on an enormous shape. "Curse, that stupid Tanuki is coming out! Naruto, get me out of here!" Kurama shouted seriously. Naruto nodded and concentrated all of his Biju chakra to turn his chakra cloak into a huge figure of the Kyuubi before everyone. Everyone saw this with open eyes, how there was a mass of luminous orange chakra in the shape of the Kyuubi, and how a huge mountain of sand took the shape of a huge Tanuki that let out a great scream into the air. "I am free, finally I can destroy." But the Tanuki saw the fox-shaped chakra figure and smiled evilly as he said, But look who we have here to this stupid arrogant fox who thinks he's better than me. Kurama's form just gritted its teeth and shouted. Shut up, stupid Tanuki, you're causing too much trouble just to have fun. At least I have enough pride not to behave like a spoiled and rebellious child when I go out. Shukaku gritted his teeth and shouted angrily. How dare you, damn fox! At least I don't spend all my time showing off my tails as if she were a diva who won a beauty pageant. You only boast about your power like the 9 tails because of all your father's children. You were the first. What did you say? Kurama shouted angrily. What you heard, Shukaku shouted in the same way. Those who were watching the discussion had the same thought in their minds. Is this a Bija's battle or an argument between brothers? Naruto could only sigh at the discussion between these two and turned his gaze towards the barrier while thinking. I just hope my clone manages to keep the old man alive. Even though he didn't take care of me like my mother asked, he was a good old man to me. The least I want is for him to die at the hands of someone as evil as that snake. Chapter 2: End of the battle between Bijus. The invasion was at a much more intense point than anyone had imagined. On the one hand, there were 2 huge Bijus facing each other in the stadium. On the other hand, there was an invasion by the Sound and Suna, and finally, there was a battle inside a barrier in the Kage's box where the Hokage was fighting against the Sannin. Snake. Everything would be lost in this invasion, if it weren't for a certain blonde who showed up to save the day. Naruto Uzumaki was supporting the Konoha village even after having abandoned it, and thanks to his wonderful clone technique, he was only able to keep the situation under control. Now we met one of Naruto's clones, who was in front of an unconscious Ino, and sighed while saying, I feel sorry for her. So much talent inside her, and she doesn't let it out because of going after a boy who never even gave her the finger. But that's why I can't let her die, since she would put me on the same level as the damn villagers of this damn place. He touched Ino on the shoulder, and channeled his chakra into her to wake her up from the genjutsu. The blonde opened her eyes and looked everywhere until he saw a head of hair that was blonder than hers, and he recognized it immediately. Naruto. I'm so happy to see you again, she shouted as she hugged him. Naruto looked at her surprised by such an action, thinking that she was behaving very strangely, but he hugged her back since he didn't want her to feel sad in a situation as dangerous as the one they were in. Thank you for your words, Ino. But it's better that you put your enthusiasm into surviving in this situation, he said seriously. Ino separated from him and observed the entire situation they were in with fear. What's going on? Why are everyone fighting? She asked, scared. We are in an invasion. Orochimaru is invading the village with the collaboration of Suna, and right now we are in some kind of war. Come with me. We'll look for a certain lazy person who is lying down trying to avoid this problem, the blonde said as he took Ino's hand. The platinum blonde followed him with a huge blush as she was feeling something in her heart at the feel of Naruto's hand and the fact that he was trying to save her when Sasuke hadn't even been willing to shake her hand. They both walked through the stadium until they found their target, a lazy boy sleeping peacefully on the floor. Is he really sleeping, or is he there because of the genjutsu? Ino asked doubtfully. Believe me, we know him very well to know that he is capable of escaping a genjutsu due to his intelligence. And because of that same intelligence, he will know how to take advantage of that to take his precious nap, Naruto said with his eyes rolling. But how shameless! Ino shouted angrily. She was going to hit him to wake him up, but Naruto stopped her as he said with a mischievous smile. Wait, I have a better punishment. Observe. His eyes turned an oceanic blue and a sphere of water appeared and moved towards the sloth. Ino saw this with surprised eyes, but then she giggled as she saw what her blonde classmate would do to her. The sphere was placed on top of the Nara and instantly fell on top of him, soaking him completely. The black-haired man jumped like a rabbit with such an act and looked at the blonde with furious eyes as he said, Couldn't you wake me up any other way? I'm sorry, but with a lazy person like you, this type of joke is ideal, Naruto said while laughing. Ha 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 in your lazy face. Bum, that was a magnificent joke, Naruto, ha 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 ha, Ino said while he laughed uncontrollably. Shikamaru looked at her angrily at her laughter and looked at Naruto lazily as he asked, So why did you come back, Naruto? Naruto rolled his eyes at him and said, "Coming from the smartest person in our group, it's a question I think about if you're testing me. Well, for your curiosity, I came back because I had already found out about the invasion before I left the village." "Really? How did you find out?" Shikamaru asked curiously. "Well, having enhanced senses, I was able to detect the smell of snakes in two people in the room of the first test, in Kabuto and in another person. After having a relationship with the snake tamer Anko Mitarashi, I was able to identify the type of smell of both of their snakes, and they were not similar. Furthermore, this Kabuto also gave off the smell of medical equipment, while the other person gave off the smell of laboratory equipment. That way, I was able to identify Orochimaru among the participants and deduce that Kabuto was his assistant. With that information and knowing the Sanin's desire to take revenge on the village, I knew there would be an invasion," Naruto explained with a sly smile. Shikamaru stared at him for a moment, until he said sarcastically, "And that comes from the dumbest in our class?" Naruto laughed at her words and said with amusement, "Don't you know that deception is one of the most important weapons of a ninja? I managed to put on a stupid boy mask to hide my true potential. After all, a ninja hides his potential so that people don't know too much about him." Shikamaru sighed at this and only said, "Problematic blonde." Naruto gave him a friendly smile and then said with complete seriousness, "Now listen to me carefully. I want you to take Ino with you and help in the invasion. Use your skills to support others." "And what will happen to you? Will we see you again?" Ino asked worried. Naruto just gave him a sly smile and said before disappearing, "You will only know that with time. Until next time, Ino, Shikamaru." And just like that, he disappeared from her sight while leaving a lazy man thinking that everything was problematic and a blonde thinking about the Uzumaki who just left. Meanwhile, in the Battle of the Bijus, Kurama and Shukaku were fighting a fierce beast battle while insulting each other. Rabbit Head Shukaku shouted as he released a burst of air. "Sand skunk," Kurama shouted as he dodged and swung his claw at the tanuki. "These two have a serious problem," Naruto thought with a sigh. Then, Shukaku manipulated the surrounding sand to send it to Kurama and bury him in it. The gigantic fox just watched this seriously and said to Naruto, "Buddy, let's do what we trained for a long time. It's time to show this tanuki the power of both combined." Naruto nodded and immediately, his eyes turned ocean blue with the Kyuubi's distinctive slits. Kurama opened his snout, and a huge cannon of water shot out into the sand, turning it to mud in an instant. "That? Since when can you use water, stupid fox?" Shukaku shouted furiously. But he got no response as Kurama had jumped towards him, while Naruto's eyes turned flashing blue and Kurama's claw was covered in shrill lightning. "Chidori no Kitsune, 1,000 birds of the fox Kurama," and Naruto shouted with fury. Kurama's lightning claw hit Shukaku squarely, and the sound of a great electrical storm could be heard throughout the village as thousands of lightning bolts were seen around the world. Kakashi saw this with his Sharingan eye open and said, "Is this Naruto's work?" "That's right," said a voice behind him. Kakashi got a little scared and saw that behind him was a clone of the blonde. "Naruto, are you really here?" the silver-haired man asked hopefully. "No. I'm the princess of the castle while I go out to cut flowers." "Of course it's me, idiot!" Naruto shouted angrily. Kakashi rolled his eyes at her response and said, "What are you doing here? Why did you come back?" The clone just pointed to the environment and said, "I guess to deal with an invasion. I noticed Orochimaru's presence at the exams and knew that he would attack the village. Despite everything they did to me, I couldn't let her be destroyed by the ambitions of a repulsive being like that snake. That's why I'm here to help the village as a help from the village of Yuzu, having been allies in the past." Kakashi nodded and then asked curiously, "What is that technique that I have seen in the Kyuubi?" "It is a variant of your Chidori technique. My Uzurigan allows me to manipulate the main elements as if they were a limb. Take the case of the Nidain with the Suiton but with the other elements. Well, being able to manipulate the Riton element in that way, techniques like Chidori are a piece of cake for me. In that way, I managed to combine the techniques of the Uzurigan with Kurama, It is the real name of the Kyuubi, and we are both friends. By combining our techniques, we created a Kitsune variant of the Chidori called Chidori Kitsune. Do you like it? The clone explained with a smile. Kakashi saw the technique with amazed eyes and said, "Seeing that they use it for the good of the village, I must say that it is fantastic." Naruto clicked his tongue at those words and said, "For the good of the village. That phrase makes me a little nauseous. Try to see things from another perspective and not always. For the good of the village. You should think about people and not about a place that can easily perish. For Yuzu, the village is not Yuzu, the people are Yuzu. Well, see you another time, Kakashi." And with that, he left while leaving a silver-haired man thoughtful with the blonde's words. Back in the Biju's battle. The lightning claw had impacted Shukaku's entire body, which had roared in extreme pain, and in that instant, Naruto created a clone that moved at blinding speed and launched itself against the redhead on the Tanuki's head. "Wake up, idiot!" the clone shouted furiously. He gave him a powerful blow to the head that woke him up instantly. With this, Shukaku's consciousness began to fade as he shouted, "It just can't be, I was having fun, I don't want to leave yet, this is your fault, damn fox." When his consciousness left, Gaara raised his head to see the blonde staring at him with cold eyes from Kurama's cloak. "Damn Uzumaki. You want to eliminate my existence!" the redhead shouted with anger. Naruto just vanished Kurama's cloak and disappeared to reappear before Gaara, who saw him with wide eyes in surprise. Naruto made some seals with his hands and a kind of black ink appeared on his fingers. The blonde moved his fingers towards the redhead's face, but Gaara manipulated the sand to stop him. However, a wall of wind protected the blonde, scattering the sand away from him, giving him enough time to place his fingers on the love mark on his head. Instantly, the redhead fell unconscious to the ground, but the blonde caught him in time to place him on the ground. Good. The seal has now stabilized and will no longer be a problem for his mind. At least he will wake up with a more stable mentality and will be able to live a peaceful life, Naruto said as he sat next to him. Though that Tanuki will be angry that you took away his link to his container, Kurama said into his seal. Do not remove it, just modify it. Now Gaara will be the one who controls when he wants to talk to Shukaku and when he doesn't. That way, the Tanuki will not be able to influence or harm his mind, Naruto said seriously. But at that moment, Gaara's brothers, Kankuro and Temari, appeared and saw the blonde next to a sleeping Gaara on the ground. What have you done to our brother? Temari shouted furiously as she prepared her fan. Quiet. I haven't done anything to him, Naruto said while he remained calm. Instantly, a barrier of wind came between the two brothers and the blonde, surprising them from such an event. What is this wind barrier? Kankuro asked interested. Ah, that? It's just that my manipulation of the futon is a little more special because of my Yuzurigan. It would function like his brother's sand, it protects me as if it had its own will. And I think my Suiton element is also acting in the same way since there have been a few times when he has appeared without me summoning him. The blonde explained somewhat thoughtfully. They both looked at him with surprised eyes and at that moment, Gaara began to wake up while saying, My head. How it hurts. Gaara, Temari and Kankuro shouted with concern. The redhead looked at his brothers and said, Temari, Kankuro, what are you doing here? They were worried about you. Their brotherly love will not allow them to leave here without you, Naruto said with a smile. Gaara looked at him in surprise and then looked at his brothers as he asked, Would they really never leave me? Of course not, you are my little brother, and I will always love you no matter what, Temari told him with tears. The same for me, even though you are a bloody murderer, you will always be my brother, Kankuro said with determined eyes. Gaara looked down at the ground and said sadly, But I'm a danger. At some point I can kill them. That's not going to happen anymore. Modify the seal that keeps Shukaku inside you so that he no longer manipulates you. Now you can talk to him whenever you want, but he can't talk to you at any time. He can only do it when you want it, Naruto said with a smile. Gaara looked at him surprised by what he said, as did his brothers, and asked with some tears, Really? Why would you do something like that for me? I tried to kill you, I murdered a lot of people, I am someone evil. Naruto just looked at him with a friendly smile and then looked at his brothers as he said, because you are not to blame for what happened. You were influenced by Shukaku, and you didn't know what you were doing. Besides, you have good brothers who love you and you deserve to be by his side. For us Uzumakis, family is the most important thing. Now go with them and enjoy your new life with your brothers. Gaara looked at him with big tears coming out of his eyes and said happily, thank you so much. Naruto just shook his hand friendly and said, there's no need. After all, that's what a friend would do. Gaara looked at him with wide eyes and said dumbfounded, a friend? Then he looked at his brothers and put on a face full of determination to get up and go towards them. He let them both help him walk and watched Naruto as he said, thank you, Naruto Uzumaki. You have done for me what others have not done. I hope to see you again soon, friend. Naruto gave him a thumbs up with a smile, and at that moment, Temari went to the blonde to hug him with tears while saying happily, thank you very much for giving me back my little brother. Naruto looked at her somewhat surprised by her action, but he hugged her back while saying, there's no need. Your brother is similar to me and I couldn't leave him that way. I only did what I had to do for a partner in life. Temari looked at him with big tears coming out of her eyes and, to the surprise of her brothers, she gave him a passionate kiss on the lips, while the blonde was more surprised than before. When he ended the kiss, the blonde with 4 pigtails looked at him with a blush as she said, I will always be grateful for what you have done for my brother. I hope we can see each other again. He separated from a dumbfounded blonde and joined his brothers, of which Kankuro was open-mouthed and Gaara was just smiling at what happened. From one moment to the next, the 3 disappeared and Naruto was left alone in that place while a certain fox laughed at him inside him. Ha ha ha! You have managed to conquer another beautiful slut, Gaki. I wonder what your partner will say when she finds out. Although she is okay with you having several companions to re-establish the Uzumaki clan, she is very possessive of you. She awaits you a good sermon when you arrive. Ha ha ha! The fox laughed with amusement. Naruto recovered from his stupefied state and shouted angrily, be quiet, don't make things worse now. I'm afraid of coming home and finding a furious Hinata in front of me. I still don't know how she manages to find out about things like she is. Then, he looked at the purple barrier in the Kage's box and said, well, now the best thing will be to solve this invasion at its roots. Let's go hunt snakes, Kurama. Chapter 3 Conclusion of the Invasion and Reward. On the barrier of the Kage's box. Inside the barrier, a battle was taking place between our favorite blonde and the Sandaime, against Orochimaru and 2 individuals who looked more dead than anything else. It's strange fighting what looks like 2 zombies. This real snake was made by using the Edo Tensei with the first and second Hokage, said Naruto while he dodged water and wood attacks. And indeed, Orochimaru had used the Edo Tensei to revive the first 2 Hokages of Konoha, Hashirama and Tobirama Senju. Right now, Naruto was fighting both revived ones by himself while Hiruzen was fighting Orochimaru in an even fight. Old Segundo is not a problem because his way of using the Suiton is the same as my manipulation of the same element thanks to my Uzurigan. The problem is the old first. His Mokuton is giving me problems, and if it weren't for Kurama, I would be defeated right now, Naruto said as he continued dodging the wood that came from everywhere. And that's not the worst. The teamwork of both is the real problem. Separated they were powerful shinobi, but together they were the most powerful team in the entire shinobi world. I still remember the problems both of them gave me when I faced them, Kurama said seriously. Naruto couldn't help but agree as there were times when both Hokages combined their techniques, and that put him in serious trouble. He continued to dodge his attacks and use his Uzurigan to counterattack with Doton to deal with the second Suiton, and using Kat-On to deal with the first Mokuton. Then, he felt his boss approaching and smiled as he said, looks like we managed to get the Tanuki out of this problem. Now we can finish this, and I will return to Yuzu and Hinata's arms, said the clone with a smile. If not, she sends you to bed with injuries for the stupid things you are doing, Kurama told him with an evil smile. Shut your mouth, the blonde shouted angrily. Then, a hole could be seen in the barrier, and the original blonde entered through it, who looked at the situation with analytical eyes and said to the clone, "You've already done enough. You can dissipate." The clone nodded and disappeared in a puff of smoke, passing on all the memories of the battle he had. So, the snake revived the first two Hokages to confront us, and now we have this situation. "Well, I guess since I take care of Gaara, I can take care of this problem," he said as he looked at everyone in the place. The Sandaime looked at him with a grandfatherly smile when he saw how strong the blonde had become, and Orochimaru looked at Naruto with furious eyes as he said, "Did you take care of the Ichibi's Jinchuriki? I knew you would be my biggest danger, Naruto-kun. Now I know that I must be serious with you and not be ruthless when facing you." With that, he walked away from the Sandaime to stand in the corner of the area and perform some hand seals. When he finished making the seals, he stamped his hand on the ground and shouted, "Edo Tensei." Instantly, 3 more coffins appeared in the place, and this put both the Sandaime and Naruto on alert. Orochimaru just smiled very evilly and the coffins opened, revealing their occupants. Seeing those he had revived, Hiruzen glared at Orochimaru as he shouted, "You are a monster, Orochimaru." Naruto only looked at the people who began to leave with a stupefied look, especially at one of them, a very beautiful redhead, who observed everything around her while saying, "Where I am? How come I'm alive? The last thing I remember is that I left my Sochi with the Sandaime, and that he had died with Minato-kun." On the other hand, the second person, another redhead with a beauty similar to that of the first, looked at everything around her with serious eyes and said, "Am I in Konoha again? I don't understand. The last thing I remember is that I died after passing on my legacy to the next generation. Wait, this is Edo Tensei Tobi-kun's technique. Who could have used it to revive me?" The third person, a black-haired woman with similar beauty to the other two, just observed everything around her and said in a confused tone, "What do I do here? Because I'm alive? The last thing I remember was dying at the hands of my son, and that the village had planned the fall of our clan due to Fugaku's plans." Hearing their voices, the first person looked to his side and said in surprise, "Mito-sama? Mikoto-chan? What are you doing here? I can understand Mito-sama being revived, but you, Mikoto? What happened?" The black-haired woman looked at the one who had spoken and said with surprise, "Kushina-chan? Is it really you?" The second redhead looked at the two girls seriously and said, "Kushina? Mikoto? How is it possible that you are also here as revived? The last time I saw them was before I died, and I had left them all my teachings." The black-haired woman looked at her with tears and said, "Mito-sensei, you don't know how happy I am to see you." Indeed, the women revived by Orochimaru were Mito Uzumaki, the wife of the first Hokage and first Jinchuriki of Kurama, Mikoto Uchiha, the wife of the patriarch of the Uchiha clan Fugaku Uchiha, and Kushina Uzumaki, the wife of the Yondaime Hokage Minato Namikaze, previous Jinchuriki of Kurama, and most importantly, the mother of our favorite blonde, Naruto Uzumaki. The blonde was watching her revived mother with tears in her eyes and approached her as he said, "Ka-san, are you really here before me?" Kushina looked at him with wide eyes and asked hopefully, "Who are you? Why do you call me Ka-san? I only have one son and that is Naruto Uzumaki." "It's me, Ka-san, I'm Naruto." "I'm your son," said the blonde with big tears. The redhead looked at him more carefully, finding those whisker marks that she had seen at his birth, and tears came out of her eyes as she said, "Sochi, my Sochi, is it really you?" However, Orochimaru interrupted the touching meeting and said while taking out some tagged kunai from his kimono, "I'm sorry to interrupt this lovely meeting, but it's time for Naruto-kun to face his elder." But the kunai were sent flying by some shurikens that the blonde threw towards him, and when he looked at him, he could see how the Uzumaki's eyes were shining with uncontrollable fury. "I will not let you use that infamily on them." Orochimaru gritted his teeth as he saw his plans thwarted again by the blonde, and Mito asked Naruto with interest, "Naruto-kun, how come you were able to realize the purpose of the kunai seals?" Naruto looked at her with serious eyes and said professionally, "The Uzumakis who lived in ancient Yuzu have identified every seal in existence. that they have created, and even some that could have been created in the future. For this reason, my grandfather, Orochimaru Uzumaki, kept the information in these seals safe after the massacre, and after creating the new Yuzu, he has kept that information safe from those who want to use it for evil. Being his grandson and his heir, he has trained me in all the Uzumaki arts, and one of them is knowing how to identify every seal in the world. For this reason, I was able to identify the seal on those labels since I had seen it in my training. Hearing this, Orochimaru gritted his teeth as the blonde got even deeper into his plans, and Kushina looked at Naruto as she asked with tears, "Orochimaru Uzumaki? Is my daddy alive?" Naruto looked at her with a smile and said, "That's how it is. The grandfather is alive and has been the architect of the resurgence of the Whirlpool. He managed to survive that massacre and created a new village for our clan. He found me when he was a child and had been attacked by villagers. He took me with him and trained me for many years to become the heir of Yuzu and the emperor of the Whirlpool." Kushina fell to the ground with tears, and Mito said with a smile, "It's good to see that little Orochimaru managed to survive and has carried Yuzu's legacy into a new future. And it's good to see that your son has become a great Uzumaki, Kushina." Mikoto looked at Naruto with a smile and said, "It's good to see that you are okay, Naruto-kun. And I must admit that you have become very handsome. You look a lot like your father." Naruto felt nervous at those words, and then Orochimaru said in an angry tone, "I congratulate you for preventing me from turning the three into mindless zombies, but what will you do now? Without those seals, they are just purposeless zombies and only get in the way in this battle." Naruto just remained calm and made his favorite seal while saying, "The truth is, I have to thank you, pedophile snake." This left Orochimaru frowning and made the three women laugh at the nickname. On the other hand, Hiruzen was dealing with the first Hokages, as she wanted to give Naruto time to find a solution with the three revived women. Naruto only made 2 clones appear and took out 3 tags with a strange seal, giving one to each clone, keeping one for himself. "What is that?" Mito asked, interested. Naruto just put the seal on his hand in reverse as if he was ready to put it on something, and explained with some tears. "The truth is that I was studying Edo Tensei with the hope of fulfilling my greatest wish. I studied it from a very young age with the intention of finding a way to revive a resurrected person completely. After several years of study, I discovered that it was possible if you united the soul of the resurrected person with the body that is used as a sacrifice. Upon doing so, the resurrected Edo Tensei form attaches itself to the sacrificed body and is revived body and soul. However, it was not something very simple for anyone, and after studying a little more, I found the answer." "What?" Kushina asked excitedly. Naruto showed his eyes, one of which glowed dark black and the other glowed luminous gold, as he said, "That only a user of a powerful Dijitsu is capable of achieving it. I discovered that only 2 Dijitsu are capable of such a miracle, the Rinnegan and the Uzurigan. The Rinnegan can do this by using the Rinne Tensei on the resurrected body and uniting the sacrificed body with the soul of the dead. But the Uzurigan can also achieve this by using the elements that govern life and death, yin and yang. After all, the Uzurigan allows the Uzumaki who possesses it to use the main elements, and the elements of yin and yang are no exception." Then, he and his clones launched themselves towards each of the revived ones while the labels glowed in gold and black, and the original said, "For this reason, I created 3 seals in case I was given the opportunity. I never dared to use the Edo Tensei because I consider it infamous for sacrifices, but you have given me the opportunity one had wanted so much. Snake, I thank you from the bottom of my soul, Orochimaru." The Sannin launched himself against the blonde when he realized what would happen. But 2 new clones appeared before him and took his arms to keep him still, while one said, "Stay still, Snake, you're not getting involved in my seal test. This is my first time using it, and I don't know if it will actually work. Let's see if it works for the good of science." The 3 Narutos reached the 3 revived women and placed the seals on their bodies. Instantly, a large amount of chakra enveloped them, and their bodies began to reform, changing from paper bodies to mortal bodies with skin. When the process was over, the 3 of them were on the floor while looking at each other with surprise and some embarrassment, since they were naked. "We're alive," Kushina said with joy. It's incredible, Makoto said with tears. Young Naruto-kun did it. It's a magnificent seal, Mito said with a smile. Orochimaru gritted his teeth as he saw that the blonde had used his movements to his advantage and was increasingly frustrating his plans. The blonde just approached his mother with tears and said, "It worked? Did it really work? Do I really have my mother with me?" Kushina looked at him with big tears and rushed to hug him while saying, "I'm feeling you, I'm touching you with my skin, I am alive and with you, Sochi." Naruto hugged her with such happiness that the tears came out harder. However, she began to feel great pain in her eyes and began to scream in agony, which Kushina did as well. "What's wrong with them?" Makoto asked with concern. Orochimaru looked at this with interest and Mito said seriously, "Both are experiencing evolution. His Uzurigan are evolving to the next level." "Evolving? Does the Uzurigan have a second level like the Sharingan?" Makoto asked in amazement. "That's how it is. It only evolves when the possessor experiences an event of extreme happiness in his life. When they experience the greatest happiness of their lives, the Uzurigan evolves to its highest level. Cami no Uzurigan, the eye of the Whirlpool god," Mito explained with a smile. After a while of agony, both Uzumakis recovered and showed their eyes to everyone, eyes in the shape of a whirlpool with some kind of blades around it as if it were a sun around the whirlpool. Then, Naruto looked at his mother, meeting the same eyes and said, "Kaa-san, you have the Cami no Uzurigan." Kushina looked at him with wide eyes and said, "Well, it seems like you have it too." They both looked everywhere and when looking at Mito, Naruto asked her, "Do you know what happened, Mito-sama?" The redhead smiled and said affectionately, "Both have managed to evolve their Uzurigan by getting back together. Now they have the last level of our Jujutsu and with it, they will now be able to use the rarest elements in the world." "What do you mean?" Makoto asked curiously. Mito stood up without being ashamed to show her naked body and said with a smile, "The Cami no Uzurigan allows its user to use items that could only be used by select people. For example, you would be able to use Hashi-kun's Mokutan since the Cami no Uzurigan combines the main elements in such a simple way that you may be able to use it. In this way, Uzumakis who possess the Cami no Uzurigan can use elements that would be Kekkai Genkai as if they were simple elements. At the same time, you can use them in the same way as the main elements, as if they were part of you." Naruto opened his eyes at those words and looked at himself in amazement just like his mother. However, Orochimaru performed a command and shouted at Tobirama, "Mata al Jinchuriki." The Night Aim manipulated the water and threw it like a wave towards the blonde to kill him. However, the blonde just looked at the wave with icy blue eyes and instantly, the wave froze before reaching him. "The Hayatan element?" Orochimaru shouted in disbelief. "How is it possible that he could have used the ice element if that is exclusive to the Yuki clan?" Kushina asked shocked. Mito looked at Naruto and asked, "Naruto-kun, did you meet someone with the ability to use the Hayatan element?" "Yes, on my wave mission. I met a boy named Haku who was from the Yuki clan and he used this element," Naruto responded with some nostalgia. "That explains everything. The Cami no Uzurigan is connected to the brain's memory as well. If Naruto-kun saw said element in his life, the Cami no Uzurigan will allow him to use it since it is inscribed in his memory," Mito explained with a smile. Naruto widened his eyes at those words and then looked at the two revived Kages seriously. Instantly, his eyes turned brown and wooden trunks emerged from the ground and trapped the Kages in their branches. Were they caught by the Mokutan? What is happening? Hiruzen asked himself when he saw this. But he saw how Naruto was with the three revived girls and seeing them naked, he couldn't help but get a nosebleed. She went towards them and asked Naruto as he covered his nose, "What happened, Naruto-kun? How come they are alive and my senseis are trapped by Hashirama-sensei's own Mokutan?" Naruto smiled at his false grandfather's questions and said, "I can only tell you that thanks to my talent with the seals I managed to revive them, and that I managed to evolve my Uzurigan with which I can use the Mokutan as well as other Kekkai Genkai elements easily. Now, it's time to take care of this snake." They both looked at Orochimaru, who was still held by the two clones and shouted with fury, I hate you, Naruto Uzumaki. You've gotten into my plans too many times, and that's something I can't accept. Naruto just smiled slyly at him and said, Well, I'll get into your plans once again. Now. Instantly, the two clones made a strange seal on the Sannin's arms, and he watched in horror as his arms withered until they were completely black. What have you done to me, damned Uzumaki? The Sannin shouted with anger. Naruto just smiled evilly and said, Make a stamp that you create with you in mind. These seals remove the ability to create chakra in the limb they are placed on, and wither that limb until they are useless. Now you won't be able to use jutsus, nor will you use your arms at all. Good luck in your quest for immortality without using your arms, you pedophile snake. The Sannin gritted his teeth in pure anger upon hearing this and shouted with extreme hatred. Uzumaki. At that moment, the four of the sound appeared in the place after the barrier disappeared and took their master, while one said, It would be better to go, Orochimaru-sama. We are at a total disadvantage, and if we stay we will die. The Sannin clicked his tongue and said angrily, Let's go, we can't do anything here anymore. However, he looked at Naruto and said with pure hatred, But this doesn't end here, Uzumaki. I swear that one day I will make you and your entire clan pay for what you did to me. We will meet again, Naruto Uzumaki. And with that, he disappeared from the place with the four of the sound. When they were alone, they heard a voice behind them that said, Well, it seems that the village is saved. Everyone turned to see Hashirama and Tobirama slowly fade away as Orochimaru had deactivated the Edo Tensei before leaving. Sensei's Naruto-kun, isn't there some way you can revive them too? The Sandaime asked hopefully. Naruto shook his head and said, I'm sorry. I only created 3 seals, and it was because I wanted to have more in case of emergency. Everyone watched the 2 Kages disappear sadly, and Mito looked at her former husband with a tear. Then you will return to the pure world and I will be here without you, she said sadly. Hashirama just smiled happily and said, Peaceful. At least you won't be alone. That boy is special. I can see that he is very similar to me. You can form a new life with him. At least I can leave knowing that you will be in good hands. Mito laughed with amusement at his words and said with some tears, Always so carefree. Tobirama looked at Hiruzen with serious eyes and said, Sarutobi, I have a feeling that the village has been walking down a bad path since I left. Hiruzen could only lower his head at her words and said with shame, Yes, and I must admit that it is my fault. Let the council influence my decisions, and also let Danzo act in the shadows with his stupid goal of turning Konoha into the greatest power in the world. I'm so sorry, Sensei. Tobirama just looked at Naruto with a smile and said to the old man kindly, Not everything is your fault. At least you have acted in favor of a young man who can be the salvation of this shinobi world. He may not act entirely for the village, but he possesses the will of fire that resides in everyone in this village. And that is thanks to you. Hiruzen looked at him with wide eyes, and then the souls of both Kages began to ascend while Tobirama said seriously, Make sure you make it clear who the Hokage is and take care of Danzo. I always knew he wasn't fit to be Hokage, and now it was confirmed by his delusion of power. And most importantly, support the boy. I can see that he will be the future of this village even if he no longer resides here. Hashirama looked at Naruto with a smile and said, Naruto-kun, I ask you to take care of Mito-chan and this village. I know you're no longer living here, but the fact that you came to help her tells me that you care a lot. Therefore, I leave this village in your hands, and I know that you will take care of it from wherever you are. Naruto smiled at her words and said, Don't worry, old Hashirama. I will take care of this village since it is the place where I was born, and no matter what, I still have the will of fire in me. This made the 2 Kages smile, and in that way, they disappeared from the place like ghosts. Left alone, Hiruzen looked at Naruto with a sad look and asked, Do you really have to go? The blonde just nodded and said seriously, I'm sorry, old man. But there is no turning back now. This village was to blame with their ignorance, and now I will be with those who truly appreciate me. But even so, I will protect this village as one of Konoha. It is still the place where I was born, and it is the place my parents loved. The Sandaime smiled happily at her response, and then looked at the three women to ask, "And you? What will they do?" Kushina just hugged Naruto lovingly and said, "I'm sorry, old man. But I must be with my Sochi. Even though this village was my home and was the place where I met Minato-kun, my place is with my son. I hope you understand me." Hiruzen nodded at her words, and then Mito stood next to Naruto as she said, "I am of the same opinion. The only reason I was in this village was because of Hashirama and my family. Now that my husband is dead and my granddaughter is not in this village, my place is with the Uzumakis. Once there, I will look for my granddaughter and take her to Yuzu. I hope you can understand me, Hiruzen." The old man nodded sadly and then looked at Mikoto to ask, "And you, Mikoto-chan?" The black-haired woman just looked at him with serious eyes and asked, "I have a question. What happened to my children?" Hiruzen lowered his head at that question and said regretfully, "Itachi-kun has joined Akatsuki and Sasuke-kun he joined Orochimaru to seek power. I'm really sorry, Mikoto-chan." The black-haired woman clenched her fists at that information, knowing that it was Fugaku's fault for that arrogance that her son Sasuke inherited from him, and looked at Naruto as she asked, "If I go with you, will I be able to get my children back?" Naruto looked at her a little nervously and said, "I can't tell you anything about Sasuke since he is on a path that only he can return to. But with Itachi-san, I can tell you that there might be a hope of bringing him with you. I could convince him to come to my village where I can give him the protection he needs and give him the position of head of the Uchiha clan." Mikoto smiled happily at those words and stood next to the others as she said to Hiruzen, "In that case, I will go with Naruto-kun. I don't feel like this village gives me the chance to get any of my children back, and Naruto-kun has shown me that with him I can get at least one back. I'm sorry, Hokage-sama, but my children come first. I hope you understand." The Sandaime could only nod at his words and said regretfully, "In that case, I can't stop them. If that is what they want, they are within their rights. Naruto-kun, I want you to know that even if you are no longer with us, from today you will be a hero for Konoha, and I will make sure that everyone knows it." Naruto smiled kindly and took out a piece of paper with a seal on it, and said, "If that's what you want, you can do it. I'm going to Yuzu and you won't see me around for a while. See you, Gigi." And with that, the four of them disappeared in a beam of light as the Hokage looked at the entire outcome of the invasion with a sigh. "This village is indebted to you, Naruto-kun. More than we think," he said sadly. Chapter 4: Konoha's New Hero is Born. Days after the invasion. The village was recovering from the disasters of the invasion little by little, and the villagers were trying to recover their lives from that experience. They were rebuilding the buildings from the destruction, and the affected people were recovering from their injuries little by little. However, in everyone's hearts was the same feeling: guilt. The fact that a certain blonde had helped them and saved them from total destruction kept flashing through their minds. Absolutely all the villagers witnessed how a certain blonde whom they had cruelly judged had protected and saved them without asking them. The same blonde who had left the village, and they had celebrated his departure. They remembered how Naruto Uzumaki's clones had appeared before them all, and instead of attacking them for everything they did to him, he had protected them from the invaders. They all had that feeling of disgust towards themselves because they were saved by the person they treated so badly. They felt that they did not deserve to have been protected by him, and that he should have let them die in the attack. Then, everyone was summoned by the Hokage before the Hokage Tower, and the Sandaime began to give a speech about the invasion. "We have gone through a very difficult stage in our lives. We have had to fight for our lives in a battle in which two villages wanted to destroy us out of ignorance. And in response, we have shown them that our will of fire is stronger than their ignorance and hatred of us. You have shown that your will of fire is stronger, and that you will be able to do nothing against our shinobi. However," Hiruzen looked at the Hokage monument, observing Minato's face with a sad expression, and said seriously, "The true hero of this invasion was someone who still maintains the will of fire in his heart even after abandoning us. We have witnessed how a young man that this village despised and mistreated since his birth has acted for us like no other ninja we have seen. A young man who fought for this village that has done so much damage to him, and who had every right to let us die in this invasion. He looked at his entire village with cold eyes and declared with all his pride in his words, "The real hero of this invasion is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, the son of the Yellow Lightning, the Yondaime Minato Namikaze and the Blood Habanero, Kushina Uzumaki, the legacy of the Yondaime, and the Uzumaki clan was what saved us from this terrible invasion." At this revelation, all the villagers had a dumbfounded face and began to feel more disgusted with their own person. The council elders were glaring at Hiruzen as he revealed such information, and the Sandaime continued to say proudly, "Naruto has acted for this village because he still has a great love for it. He keeps in his heart that this village was where he was born and that his parents loved this place with all his heart. He has promised me that he will protect this village from wherever he is because he still loves it with all his heart. Therefore, he should be recognized as the great hero of Konoha for his great service to the leaf." At these words, all the villagers began to shout, "So be it. We apologize to the great hero of Konoha. May the great Yondaime forgive us. Please let Naruto-sama come back. Yeah, we want to apologize. We want him with us. Please, Naruto-sama, come back to Konoha. Long live Naruto-sama." This was seen by the Sandaime with a sarcastic smile, thinking that it was hypocritical that they wanted to have him with them now that he was gone, and he saw how the elders motioned for him to go to the council room. He sighed, knowing that even more trouble was coming. Hours later, in the council chamber, while a great party was being held in the village in honor of the heroism of their new hero Naruto, a meeting was taking place in the council room that was giving the Sandaime a huge headache. "The Jinchuriki must be found and placed in confinement for the good of the village," Kohara said furiously. "Are you listening, old hag? That boy is a village hero. Now I can understand why my daughter went with him," some said, looking at the old woman with anger. "I ask you not to speak, leader of the Inuzuka clan. Her daughter has betrayed the village to go with the Kyuubi boy, and when we find her with the rest of her, she too will be judged as such," Danzo said coldly. Some looked at him with pure rage at those words and threw herself against the old mummy while shouting, "I'm going to tear you to pieces, damn mummy." However, she was stopped by several umbus who kept her still, and the Sandaime finally spoke. "Please, Tsum-chan, don't do something that can harm you, or you will be the one who ends up in big trouble. You can rest assured that your daughter will be safe because she is with Naruto-kun, and he would never allow someone who has surely supported him to get hurt. Stay calm." Some looked at Hiruzen with wide eyes and then calmed down as she said, "The old man is right. If my puppy went with Kushina's puppy, I don't have to worry. That boy must be just like his mother, dangerous and a mad dog when it comes to his precious people, and I'm sure my daughter is one of those people. Your move went wrong, damn mummy. My daughter will not fall into your hands because Kushina's cub will not allow it. Now you'll only eat dog shit, you stupid crippled mummy." Danzo gritted his teeth at these words, knowing that he was somewhat right, since if the people who left the village with the Kyuubi are with him in the new Yuzu, then he wouldn't be able to reach those people easily. Then, a civilian counselor stood up and asked the Hokage, "And what will we do, Hokage-sama?" "We should find Naruto-sama and ask him to come back to us, and if he is the leader of the new Yuzu, we should ask him to collaborate with us in all possible fields to achieve good profits in the two villages." Everyone in the civilian council agreed with the councilman's words, but to everyone's surprise, Mabuki Haruno stood up from her seat with a serious expression and said, "I think that we should not do such a thing." Everyone in the room looked at her with surprise, and the civil counselor asked her furiously, "What are you talking about, Haruno? Do you still maintain your hatred towards our savior?" But he was scared when he saw how Mabuki looked at him with a fury that they had never seen in her, and the Haruno woman screamed loudly, "Don't say such a thing again. In my life I hated my friend's son. It was you who got the wrong ideas." Everyone looked at her in surprise at those words, since she had not done anything for the poor boy since he was a baby, and they attributed it to the fact that she hated him. Mabuki just looked at the elders with pure hatred and said, "I'm tired of everyone thinking badly of me and being manipulated into doing whatever they want. They do it because I am the most important civilian counselor on this council, and that is why they need me, but not anymore. Now I will act according to my own decisions, and with my importance I will take control of this civil council. Therefore, I forbid my council to try to convince Naruto Uzumaki to form a trade alliance with us. But why do you say that, Hirano-sama? Wouldn't it be beneficial for us to have a business alliance with the leader of Yuzu? Asked the counselor with respect towards Mabuki. And I don't deny it. However, do you think we have the right to ask him for such a thing after everything we have done to him? Do you think it would be right for us to ask him to have an alliance with all our faults on top of it? I do not believe it. Therefore, the best thing will be for us to stay put and let him be the one who wants to have a commercial alliance with us if he wants it, and it is my order as leader of the civilian council, Mabuki said with authority. Everyone in the civilian council looked at the Hokage for confirmation, and he just said with a smile, "From today it is agreed like this. I declare that Mabuki Haruno, as owner of most of Konoha's civilian commerce, is assigned as leader of the civil council, and that any order of hers must be respected by her council." Everyone was shocked by the recent events after the invasion, and the elders were angry at what was happening. Then, Hiruzen said seriously, "What happened in the invasion has helped us realize that even someone like Naruto-kun can work for this village. Despite everything we have done against him, he has decided to protect us. And now that he has recovered his mother, he possesses a power with which he can protect not only our village and his, also the entire shinobi world. For this reason, we must take an example from him and act for the well-being of our village." Everyone in the shinobi council nodded, as did the civilian council, but the elders were gritting their teeth at the events that were happening. Then, Shukaku asked, "But what will we do from now on, Hokage-sama?" Hiruzen just looked at the photograph of Minato on the wall and said with fire in his eyes, "Walk where our will of fire guides us. We will take the example of Naruto-kun and walk towards a better future. Go and raise this village leaf by leaf, get stronger, and bring the will of fire to others, but most importantly, carry Naruto-kun's example in your hearts and pass it on to the youngest." Everyone nodded at his words and left to continue rebuilding the village. Meanwhile, the three elders went to another place to have a private meeting, and when they were sure, Hamura said angrily, "That damned Hiruzen, he is getting carried away by Jinchuriki's nonsense and turning this village into a circus. And the worst thing is that he wants others to follow his example. That bitch from the Inuzuka clan is one of the most involved in Sarutobi's ideology, and her rebellion towards us is unforgivable," Kohara said with anger. Danzo just remained silent as he watched the village from the window, and Hamura asked him, "What do you think about what happened, Danzo? You of all people are affected by the events of the invasion, and our plan to make Konoha the greatest power in the shinobi world is being obstructed by a simple brat. That damn Jinchuriki has ruined all our plans since he left the village and continues to do so right under our noses. It's true, Danzo the Kyuubi boy is the biggest drag on our plans, and he has made Uchiha-sama leave the village with Orochimaru. On top of that, he has taken the revived Kushina Uzumaki, Mikoto Uchiha, and even our beloved Mito Uzumaki-sama. He has taken what belongs to our village, our bijou, some of our kunoichis, 2 civilian merchants, 3 highly renowned kunoichis from our village, and he has even taken 3 digitsus that should belong to us, the Byakugan, the Sharingan and the Yuzurigan. What are you going to do about it, Danzo?" Kohara shouted furiously. The bandaged old man just stood looking at the village with a cold eye and said seriously, "Do not worry. I have started a quest with a root group to find the new Yuzu village and report it to us immediately. As soon as they find it, we will send a large troop of our shinobi to invade them and bring everything that is useful to us. We will receive the help of the sound for this, and thus, no one will be able to confront us in that village. They will bring the Jinchuriki with all the traitors to Konoha, and as soon as we have them here, we will put them all under our control to serve us in our purpose. That way, with the power of the 3 most powerful digitsus and the power of the Kyuubi, Konoha will be ours, and we will finally be able to dominate the entire shinobi world as it should always be." The other 2 elders smiled evilly at his words and were eager for that day to come. Meanwhile, at the Hirano house, Sakura had arrived from the party in honor of Naruto after celebrating with Aino the great triumph of her beloved partner, and upon entering her house, she could see her mother on the couch while she was looking at some photos with a sad face. "It's here, Mom. Sorry I didn't arrive earlier, but Ino convinced me to celebrate at the party for Naruto. I couldn't say no since he saved me in the invasion, and if it weren't for him, I wouldn't be here," Sakura said with a touch of hatred in her voice. Mabuki noticed that tone of hatred in her daughter's voice and sighed as she said in a sad tone, "Come, sit with me, we have to talk." The pink-haired girl looked at her with a frown and said very angrily, "Look, Mom, if you're going to try to convince me that I should wait for Sasuke to be his wife, I'm telling you from now on that I won't do it. That bastard dared to use me as a lifeguard, and if it hadn't been for Naruto, he himself wouldn't be alive now." Mabuki looked at her surprised by those words, and after cursing the Uchiha for trying to kill her little girl, she said softly to her daughter, "Don't worry, I don't want to talk to you about that. In fact, I am very grateful to Naruto-kun that he saved you. I want to tell you something that I have had to tell you for a long time." Sakura looked at her surprised by her words and went to sit next to her, while her mother showed her a photo in which she was as a child next to a red-haired girl. "Who is she?" Sakura asked, impressed by the beauty of the red-haired girl. Mabuki just smiled at the photo and said wistfully, "This is Kushina Uzumaki, Naruto-kun's mother." Sakura's eyes widened at that revelation, and she looked at Kushina's photo in admiration as she said, "Is she Naruto's mother? But she is beautiful, she looks like a beautiful princess." Mabuki smiled as she looked at the photo in which the two of them stood before the Hokage monument, all scribbled with paint, and the two of them with a mischievous smile, while their faces had paint stains. "That's how it is. We were both great friends as children. We were both in the ninja academy, but in different courses. Since she was studying to be a ninja and I had decided to be a civilian, we were in specific classes for our future. However, when we left classes, we both met up to play pranks on others. My parents scolded me for being a rude girl with others, but I didn't care because my friendship with Kushina was more important. Your father was also a friend of hers since he and Minato were friends," the Haruno woman said with a nostalgic smile. Sakura was shocked by the story and looked at the photo with bright eyes as she imagined her mother with Naruto's mother and those jokes. "When we grew up, we both took different paths, she as a shinobi and I as a civilian merchant, inheriting everything from my parents. However, our friendship never changed and we always met up to chat about our new lives while eating at Ichiraku ramen. That's when we told each other about our crushes on the men we loved and we supported each other to continue our love. So she told me one day that she was pregnant with Minato, and it was because of that news that I decided to have you. I don't know if Sakura is older or younger than Naruto." Mabuki continued with a smile. Sakura opened her eyes at that fact and her mother looked at the photo with tears as she said, "Knowing that my best friend would have a child motivated me to do the same, thinking that our friendship would reach you. Then, a month later, I told Kushina that I was expecting a child too. She was so happy that she almost suffocated me with her hug. That time was the most wonderful of my life because we were both waiting for a new life that maybe they would get along as well as we did. Then, Kushina told me with a smile that if our children were born with the opposite sex, that is, one was born a boy and the other a girl, they would both be committed to marriage. I told him that would be fantastic, and that way, they were both born with a promise of marriage between both families if they were born of opposite sexes." Sakura looked at her mother with wide eyes, and at this point, she yelled at her with great fury. "Then why did you insist that I marry Sasuke? If you wanted me to marry your best friend's son, why did you demand that I approach Sasuke to be his wife?" Mother Haruno just looked at the photo with a feeling of extreme guilt in her heart, and began to cry loudly while saying with great pain, "I am sorry. I am truly sorry. I didn't really want any of that, but the damn Council of Elders forced me. They wanted the daughter of the most influential counselor of the Civil Council to be married to the Uchiha heir so that the Uchiha clan would have power over the Civil Council. They forced me to demand that you be his wife. Telling me that if I didn't they would take everything from me. I did it because I didn't want you to have a bad life, daughter, even though I didn't like the idea of you marrying that arrogant man. You were more important to me than anything else, and I wasn't going to let you be without anything. I did it because of that. Kushina must be furious with me." Sakura had an incredulous expression at what her mother had told her, and stood up from the couch while saying with her fury increasing more and more, "So, my whole life was manipulated by those damn elders who only wanted me to marry Sasuke for their purposes? Is it because of your stupid desires that I treat Naruto like trash my entire life despite having such a beautiful friendship between our mothers? Is it their fault that he despised me for everything I did, and may I have lost the opportunity to at least be his friend? I kill them. She left the house in a rage while her mother yelled at her not to do something crazy, but the pink-haired girl was only listening to her inner voice that was giving her more appropriate advice. Do not rush if those geezers want to play dirty. Let's play dirty too. Let's go to our friends and tell them everything we know so they can support us in our revenge against those old men. Sakura nodded and went to look for all of the Rookie 11 so that they could support her in her plan against those damn old geezers. An hour later, on Naruto's swing. What ee? Everyone in Rookie 11 shouted. Sakura had already told them the whole story her mother told her, and she was on Naruto's swing with a grim expression. But how could they? They are ungrateful. I should fry them from their minds so that they suffer, Ino said angrily. I suppose that the fact that Naruto-san was both the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi and that he is the last legacy of both the Yondaime and the Uzumaki clan made them manipulate his life as if they were masters of their destiny. At that point, I can understand why Hinata-sama decided to go with him, and I agree with his decision, Niji said seriously. Yes, he managed to change because Hayashi told him the whole truth about what happened with his father, and also told him that he and his brother had a great friendship with Naruto's father, and Minato had promised to solve the problem of the seal to improve the situation. Hyuga clan, however, could not finish it due to his death that night. Upon learning all this, Niji managed to realize his mistake and that his cousin had been right in his actions. Therefore, he decided to side with her and Naruto in this battle against the council. According to what they tell us, I can deduce that those truly responsible for Naruto's suffering were those geezers from the council. Think about it, from the moment they knew that Naruto was the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, they made sure that the village knew it despite the Hokage's prohibition. They also made sure that Naruto did not have an easy life by manipulating people who could helping him and even manipulating those who cared for him. Provoking the villagers to persecute him in his childhood and even manipulating education so that he would not receive the education he deserved so that he would be weak enough for his plans. In my opinion, those geezers are as intelligent as us Nara for their evil purposes, Shikamaru said with an angry expression. They have no youth at all. They are evil beings who live in the shadows and only want to overshadow the youthful son of others, Lee said with disgust. Munch, munch, those evil ones take away my appetite, Choji said angrily while eating chips. Now I can understand why my sister went with Naruto. I guess she saw in her life how Naruto suffered and sympathized with him right away. At that point, I feel calm that my two sisters are with him, Kiba said with a smile. That's logical. Naruto-san has managed to remain pure-hearted despite so many injustices. At that point, Naruto-san is more mature than all of us, Shino said in a stoic manner. I just hope Naruto-kun isn't angry with us. If we see him again one day, I wouldn't want to see him angry with us, Tenten said with some fear. Then, Ino looked at Sakura and asked, And what will you do, Sakura? You've lived your entire life under the manipulation of those damn geezers and it's because of them that Naruto hates you. What do you plan to do about it? The pink-haired girl only showed a determined look and getting up from the swing, said with fire in her eyes. I will become stronger now. I'm ready to become a real ninja, not for Sasuke, but for me and Naruto, and I will also change completely. I will no longer be that disgusting girl who looks at others as inferior to a boy. I will see everyone as equal and treat others better, but most importantly, we are all going to promise not to let ourselves be manipulated by those old men ever again. Tell me something. Who is the leader of this village? The Hokage, everyone said. Well then, we only owe respect to him. We will only obey orders from the Hokage and our Jounin. We won't let those geezers control our lives. Are you with me? Sakura shouted loudly. Hi, everyone shouted with determination. Meanwhile, in a certain hidden village of the shinobi world, our favorite blonde was on some kind of throne in a huge royal room while he and several girls watched a screen attentively. Are they celebrating Foxy-kun now? Those ungrateful people. I should send them my snakes so they can eat them. A purple-haired woman shouted while she was sitting at the blonde's feet on some pillows and eating dango. Calm down, Anko. After what Naruto-kun did for them, it is normal for them to celebrate despite his hypocrisy, said another purple-haired woman standing behind the throne with a sword at her waist. But at least we must agree that they are hypocrites for loving Naruto-kun now that he saved them from an invasion. They think that with that they can be forgiven, but they are just wrong, said a black-haired woman on a pillow next to Anko while she looked at the screen. But it's good to see that the Hokage has made it clear that Naruto-kun is the hero of the village. I guess my mother is furious with the council for what they have done with him, said a brown-haired girl on another pillow while she petted several dogs next to her near the throne. Near them, 3 more beautiful women were looking at the screen and had a disappointed look on their faces. I can't believe that the village that Hashi-kun loves so much has this kind of nerve. At least I'm in my real home so I don't have to see such hypocrisy. I'm happy that you came with Naruto-kun to be with him in our home, a certain redhead said with an angry face while watching the screen in a chair. I guess we couldn't wish for anything more. That village will always see what it wants to see and will never be able to see reality from the beginning. In that aspect, they are so similar to Uchiha arrogance that they share the same blindness, said a certain black-haired woman with disgust next to the other 2 women. Ungrateful after what Minato-kun did for them. I'm happy that my daddy picked up my Sochi from that village. They don't deserve it, another redhead shouted furiously. Then, the beautiful Hinata looked at her fiancé seriously and asked, "What will you do now, dear?" Naruto only watched the screen on his throne, watching as the Konoha villagers celebrated his heroism and sighed as he said, "Let them celebrate whatever they want. Nothing will change what has already happened and what will happen. After all, we have already laid the foundation for the rebirth of Yuzu in the world." He got up from his throne and went to the window to observe the beautiful scenery of the clouds outside the huge village and said with a smile full of power, "In 3 years, the world will know about us and see the rise of the Whirlpool Empire. We have already performed in all these years around the world and we have formed friendships that will allow us to leave our place in the shinobi world. In 3 years, that village will see with their own eyes how the Whirlpool Emperor rises before them." Chapter 5: The Rise of the Whirlpool Empire. A few days after Orochimaru's invasion of Konoha, the village was surprised that Tsunade Senju had returned with the intention of taking the title of Hokage when her sensei retired. When they asked her the reason why she had returned, she responded that her family had convinced her to return and take command of Konoha as the only person who possessed the blood of the Senju and the Uzumaki during her lifetime. With that, they discovered that Naruto and Yuzu had a hand in her return, and Tsunade confirmed it by saying that Naruto had found her to talk to her about her return to Konoha. With this, Hiruzen decided to retire once and for all and leave the position to Tsunade while she thanked Naruto for finally giving her peace. Thus, Tsunade Senju became the Godame Hokage of Konoha, and once she took the position, she made it very clear that she would not let anyone boss her around. She made it very clear to the elders that she was the Hokage, and that only she decided what was going to be done in the village, which the elders did not like, but they could not do anything since she was backed by the daimyo. Then, Tsunade began a series of changes in the village, starting with her favorite area, medicine. She implemented her project in the shinobi regime and transformed Konoha's hospital into the most important center of the village. With her arrival, the village was happy to have a new Hokage who was trustworthy and brought in by the hero of Konoha. When she took the position of Hokage and began the changes, Sakura decided to go to her so she could become stronger so she could look at Naruto when she saw him again. Standing before her, he knelt on the ground and asked her to train her to become stronger. When Tsunade asked her the reason why she wanted to become stronger, the pink-haired girl told her everything about herself and Naruto, telling him that she wanted to be strong enough to be able to stand before him and ask for forgiveness. Upon hearing this, Tsunade smiled and took her as her pupil with the intention of turning her into a kunoichi worthy of the village. And so time passed, in which Konoha rose little by little and the world walked normally without any new news. But that would change after 3 years. 3 years later. Everything was going on normally in the shinobi world, when suddenly, an enormous mass of land began to descend from the sky heading towards the vast ocean in the north of the elemental nations. Those who were on the shores of the vast lands facing the sea could see how a large mass of land, as if it were a huge island, descended towards the water and finally landed on it as if anchored. Everyone could see before them a large island that encompassed the three nations facing the sea, and it extended far into the vast ocean. Then they saw how some types of metal bridges headed towards the land where they were, and all those bridges connected with the elemental nations, uniting the island with them. This caused the beginning of a new era, since with the appearance of the island, villages such as Kumo, Kiri, Suna, and even Iwa declared their relationship with it. Then, a piece of news was spread throughout the shinobi world that caused chaos among those who still did not know what was happening. The Whirlpool Empire has arisen. The island that appeared in the northern seas has been discovered to be the new village of Yuzu, also known as the Whirlpool Empire. At the same time, Kumo, Suna, Kiri, Iwa, the Land of Spring and the Land of Demons have declared that they are allies of the new Whirlpool Empire, and that their nations support the Emperor as their leader. With this news, Konoha and the small nations that were not affiliated with the Empire were shocked by such an event and realized that this empire was now the largest power in the shinobi world and that they were practically rulers of it. Upon hearing the news, Konoha was shocked, and the members of Rookie 11 met to talk about the event. In these 3 years, the members of Rookie 11 had improved a lot thanks to a certain blonde who had motivated them to be stronger. For starters, some managed to become jounin over time and the rest reached chunin. Among them, Shikamaru rose as one of the most important rookies and was now one of the Godame's personal assistants. Kiba, Lee and Choji had become chunin, and their goal was to become jounin so that Naruto would be happy for them. Shino and Niji had become jounin just like Shikamaru and had become great leaders, taking Naruto's example to move forward. As for the girls, the 3 that remained had become Tsunade's apprentices and had achieved great improvement. Ino and Tenten managed to reach chunin after the exams, with Ino becoming a great kunoichi for interrogations thanks to the classes of Tsunade, Ibiki, and her father, while Tenten had become a great master of weapons and seals thanks to the Sunade and Shizen classes. They both wanted to be strong enough to make a certain blonde proud of them, and see him happy when they saw him again. On the other hand, Sakura was the one who got the biggest improvement. She had become the Hokage's exclusive student, and she had taught her about medical ninjutsu, fuinjutsu, her fighting style with chakra-enhanced strength, and everything the Pinkette had asked of her to be a worthy kunoichi. She also improved with her treatment of her body, improving her diet, her way of beautifying herself and her health, now choosing to eat what she needed for energy, not wearing so much makeup and following medical instructions to take care of yourself more. With all that, after 3 years, Sakura became a kunoichi who went from a weak and unattractive girl to a strong young woman with a beauty that rivaled that of Ino. She had become a beautiful young woman with long pink hair, tied in a ponytail, with C-cup breasts thanks to her diet that, although they were not as big as Ino's and a certain Hyuga's, were desired by civilian boys and envied by many girls in the village. She had the appropriate musculature of a young woman like her, and right now she had the title of jounin thanks to her exploits as Tsunade's pupil. Because Naruto and Sasuke were not with her, Tsunade made her a special genin under her tutelage, and thanks to that, the pink-haired girl was able to take the chunin exams alone and pass with honors, since thanks to the blonde Hokage, she had become a kunoichi of great danger to his opponents. Now we meet Rookie 11 minus the girl they had assigned to Kiba and Shino's team, a member of the cat-using shinobi clan who started a bad relationship with Kiba, but were now dating. They were discussing the appearance of the island, and Shikamaru said lazily, "It must be Naruto. It can't be anyone else. If the Whirlpool Empire has appeared now, it is because Naruto decided to leave hiding and show himself to the world. It is wonderful Naruto-kun has appeared before the world as the great emperor that he is, but what do we do now?" Ino said with emotion. "I suppose that with his appearance, he will put everything in its place. And if I'm not mistaken, Hinata will be with him on that island as his wife," Kiba said with a smile. "What do you think Tsunade-sama will do with this event?" Tenten asked curiously. "That is why we must go to Tsunade-sama and ask her what she plans to do. If she was brought here by Naruto, then she must have a plan to act on Yuzu's return. But no matter what she decides to do, we must ask her to send us to the Empire so we can talk to Naruto," Sakura said with pure determination. "But do you think he will allow us to go to the Empire?" Niji asked seriously. "Maybe not, but we don't lose anything by trying. I know my teacher well enough to know that she values Naruto too much to protect him even from us. But she is also an understanding person who will understand our desire to talk to him, to kneel for his forgiveness if necessary. What do they say? Are you with me so we can go to the Empire and meet with Naruto? Sakura asked hopefully. Everyone in Rookie 11 looked at each other with a smile, and said at the same time, "Let's go." Sakura smiled gratefully for the support of all her friends and put her hand on her heart, as she thought. "We will meet again soon, Naruto. I will do whatever it takes to earn your forgiveness, even if I have to offer myself as payment for my sins. I will admit my mistakes and accept any price as long as you at least forgive me. Wait for me a little longer. Naruto." The next day, at the Hokage Tower, Sunade looked at those present with a complicated expression and said seriously, "So you have come to be sent to the Whirlpool Empire so you can talk to Naruto?" Before her, Rookie 11 looked at her with expressions of hope, and Sakura said on behalf of everyone, "That's right, Tsunade-sama, we want him to send us to the Empire so we can talk to him, and if possible, ask for forgiveness for everything we have done. I know you will be reluctant to let us go since Naruto is important to you and he doesn't want us to hurt him. But we promise you that's the least we want. Please trust us to go to him and ask for forgiveness. By the way, we can ask him what plans he has regarding Konoha and if he will be neutral with us." Tsunade stared at her, analyzing every aspect of her pupil. Indeed, she loved Naruto too much, and the only reason she had returned was because he and her grandmother had asked her to do so. She already knew that in 3 years Yuzu would re-emerge as a great empire, and she did not say anything because of her affection for the family she had left. She knew perfectly well everything that had been done to her in the village, and the pink-haired woman's mistreatment of hers was no exception to her. The only reason he took her on as her apprentice was because he could see regret in her, and a very strong desire to make amends for her mistakes. He let out a sigh and said seriously, "The truth is that I had planned to send them to the Empire for a very important mission." He was planning on sending only Sakura and Kakashi, but maybe sending the entire Rookie 11 as emissaries might be a good idea. Everyone looked at each other with joy at those words, and Shikamaru asked seriously, "But what kind of mission is it for it to be so important?" Tsunade just sighed and raised a protective barrier so that only they could find out what was being said there. "You see, I have received reports from my spies with Jiraiya that Danzo and those 3 geezers have plans to attack Yuzu eventually," the slug Sennin said with a displeased expression. Everyone's eyes widened at this revelation, and Sakura slammed her hands against the table, almost destroying it as she shouted angrily, "But what do those damn old people think? They are hypocrites, Tsunade-sama. We can't let them try anything against Naruto or his people. They've already done too much damage." The busted blonde smiled at the pink-haired girl's outburst, and taking out a parchment from her desk, she said with cold eyes, "And I know that very well. According to Jiraiya, they are planning to convince the smaller nations in the shinobi world to ally with them, and invade each of the 5 great nations little by little. They already have Orochimaru and the bastard Uchiha's backing for their plan, so they're off to a good start. I fear that if they manage to convince those small nations, they will first manage to take over those of the Land of Spring and the Land of Demons, and then go against Kumo, Kiri, Iwa, and Suna. In the end, they will go against us with the power they have gained over time, and then they will use all the power they gain to attack Naruto's empire. But that's horrible. If they do that, Naruto-kun will have no chance to defend himself against so much power," Ino shouted in terror. "And the damn Uchiha is allied with those geezers. Surely it's because of his jealousy towards Naruto," Kiba shouted angrily. "By attacking the minor villages first, they are increasing their power with conquest. It's like a game of shogi in which they accumulate power little by little until they capture the king. They are very smart," said Shikamaru with a sigh. "And what are you planning to do, Tsunade-sama?" Tenten asked worriedly. The Godane just handed the scroll to Sakura and said with complete seriousness, "That is why you will be sent. They will go as emissaries from Konoha to the Naruto Empire, and will give him this scroll with all the information we have about the plans of those elders. The entire Rookie 11 will go, and I hope they don't cause problems. There are people of great importance in that place, and a single mistake can cause a war. Use this opportunity to try to ask for forgiveness, and for him to become friends with all of us. Don't make me regret giving them a chance." Sakura took the scroll with tears and said, "Of course not, Sunade-sama. I promise that we will not let you down, and that we will behave very well in Naruto's presence. We will do whatever it takes to make him forgive us." Sunade looked at her with a little nervousness and said, "Sakura, you don't have to worry about him because even with his coldness and his farewell, he is a boy who still appreciates you as his companions. It's Hinata that everyone should worry about." Everyone looked at her with wide eyes and Kiba asked, "And why Hinata?" Sunade just looked towards the horizon and said with a sigh, "Because at the time I met her, she was very cold to me. She judged me for abandoning Naruto and not being with him when she was his godmother. I tried to explain to her that I had suffered for the death of Dan and Iwaki, but she looked at me with those icy eyes and reproached myself that if I could have been in Kushina's life, I could also have been in Naruto's life. I'm serious. In that empire, Naruto is a kind soul to all the people in it. But the cold and heavy-handed ruler is Hinata. She doesn't forgive easily, and if she talks to you, you will need a lot of luck to survive." Practically everyone sweated at the new description of the shy young girl in their class, and some like Niji thought that she had evolved enormously. Sakura knew that if Hinata was Naruto's main wife, she would have to talk to her too, and now that she knew of the Hyuga princess' icy attitude towards those who hurt Naruto, she began to be afraid of her. The pink-haired girl only bowed and she said respectfully, "Thank you for this opportunity, Tsunade-sama. We will go to Yuzu in a few days to carry out the mission. Leave it all in our hands." Tsunade nodded at their words and let them leave to prepare their things for the trip. When they left, Shizen asked him curiously, "Was it really a good idea to let them all go on this mission? I think Kakashi and some jounin could pull it off. Even Konohamaru or Hanabi-san could accompany him so that they can see their precious people." Tsunade just smiled slyly and said, "Shizen, if he sends them it is because sooner or later they will have to be before him, and it better be early. Besides, I'm not the one who will be hurt by this. It will be those geezers who will be hurt because with this mission, they will be in trouble now. Let's celebrate Naru-chan's appearance to the world." And with that, he took out a bottle of sake from his desk and Shizen could only sigh at her teacher's stupidity. Meanwhile in the Empire, a young blonde boy of about 16 years old was observing the sea landscape before him, when two very beautiful young women approached. "Are you watching your empire from your palace, dear?" asked a beautiful young woman with dark purple hair, dressed in a tight lavender kimono that revealed her voluptuously cupped breasts and a low neckline and whose lavender eyes only showed a glance. "Beautiful and dangerous." The blonde just smiled as he continued looking at the sea and said, "You always know what goes through my mind, my beautiful Empress of the Moon. And may I know why the beautiful Empress of the Sharingan has come to me?" On his other side, there was a beautiful 16-year-old girl with back-length black hair, red glasses, an elegant red suit that highlighted her decupped breasts and unparalleled beauty. "I only came to find out what you plan to do with Konoha. It is clear that they will appear in the Empire eventually, and we will have to deal with them. What are you going to do, Emperor of the Whirlpool?" said the girl, looking at him seriously. The blonde only observed one of the bridges that connected his empire with the 5 great nations and said calmly, "I'll be waiting for you." Chapter 6: Arrival in the Empire. Days after, Rookie 11's group was advancing through the trees towards the area where the elemental countries connected with the new empire that had risen before the world. The group included the entire Rookie 11 with Kakashi and his Anbu partner, Yamato, included. Then, as they were heading towards the bridge that would take them to the Empire, Sakura asked Kakashi, "Kakashi-sensei, do you think Naruto will receive us? I mean, after what the village has done to him, I don't know if he accepts us as friends." Kakashi could only smile at him with his uncovered eye and said, "Don't worry, Sakura. Naruto may resent the village for everything we did to him, but he has shown us with his help in Orochimaru's invasion that he still loves us, even if it's just a little bit. I am sure that he will receive us in his empire, and we will be able to show him that we want to continue being his friends." Sakura smiled at those words and said, "Yeah. Naruto is still the same good-hearted boy we met. He may have been with us with a mask to hide his true face, but I know that his pure heart and kindness remain the same. Everyone nodded at his words and continued on the road to the Empire with a great hope of seeing their favorite blonde again. A while later, at the bridge entrance to the Empire, everyone was open-mouthed as they looked at how huge the Empire was from the other side of the bridge and how it stretched for miles across the vast sea. "It's huge," Kiba shouted as he saw the vast Empire before him. "How is it possible that Naruto has such an amazing place?" Tenten shouted in wonder. "It is such a beautiful empire. Naruto-kun must be proud to be the emperor of such a wonderful place," Ino said with shining eyes. "Problematic. An empire of this caliber can clearly cause people like those annoying old men to worry since it is seen to possess power beyond what they imagine," Shikamaru said lazily. "Yash, it is an empire in which the flames of youth shine," Lee shouted with emotion. "Naruto-san has proven that we were wrong about him. This empire shows the power he really possesses and how much his enemies should care," Shino said with his stoic tone. "He asked me what kind of food they will have," Choji said hungrily. "Will there be cats?" Kiba's girlfriend asked curiously. "There is no doubt that Naruto-san has shown his great importance with this place. And I have no doubt that Hinata-sama holds the most important place after the Emperor next to Naruto-san. I just hope she's not angry with me," Niji said with a sad tone. Sakura was speechless, observing the entire place with open eyes and could only say, "Naruto." Kakashi and Yamato were wide-eyed as they looked at the vast place before them, and Yamato asked Kakashi, "Senpai, what do you think about this?" The silver-haired man could only sweat a little and say nervously, "The truth is, I don't know what to think." Then, he looked at his group and said, "The best thing will be to move so we can meet with Naruto. Come on." Everyone nodded and began to walk across the bridge, and after a stretch where they could see the wonder of the bridge that connected the Empire with the elemental countries, they finally arrived at its entrance. Everyone saw the large double doors with the large whirlpool symbol stamped on them, and Sakura asked, "And how do we get in?" Kakashi looked around the place with some confusion, and when he was going to knock on the door to call someone, an explosion of smoke appeared before them. This surprised everyone, and when the smoke cleared, they could see someone some of them recognized. Sister Kiba shouted in amazement. "Hello brother, how are Mom and the rest of the clan?" Hana Inuzuka said with a smile. Everyone saw the former member of the Inuzuka clan with her 3 canine companions before them with a wild smile, and Kakashi asked with interest, "Why are you here, Hana-san?" The Inuzuka just looked at him with a frown and said, "I am in charge of this door, and when someone appears at it, I have the responsibility of receiving them. I am in charge of guarding it for the Empire and warding off those who want to threaten it. With that said, what do you want in the Whirlpool Empire, Konoha Shinobi?" Everyone looked at each other when they found out that the older Inuzuka was in charge of one of the doors, while Kiba smiled to see his sister, and Kakashi told him seriously, "We have come to give Naruto a message and talk to him if we can. Can we come in to see it?" Hana squinted at them and touched her ear as she said, "This is the Canine Empress. I have the Konoha Shinobi made up of Hotaki Kakashi, a mysterious Jounin, and the members of Rookie 11. Kakashi says that they are coming to give a message from the Hokage to Naruto-kun and that they also want to talk to him. What action should I take?" "It seems they have a system for dealing with visitors," Yamato whispered to Kakashi. "Well, it's kind of useful, although I wonder how they knew we were here before we knocked," Kakashi said in amazement. Sakura watched everything with her hand on her heart, hoping that she would be able to see Naruto again and be able to apologize to him in any way. Then, they saw how Hana nodded and looked at them as she said, "They have given the green light to let them enter the Empire. I will take you to the Imperial Palace so you can see the Emperors. Follow me." They all smiled as they were accepted into the Empire and followed the Inuzuka inside when the large doors were opened. After entering, they realized that there was no one in the area, and when they looked back, they could see how the doors closed by themselves. "How do the doors open and close by themselves?" Ino asked in wonder. "We have a very advanced sealing system, and all doors are equipped with seals that are manually activated and mobilize the hinges as well as the locks so that the doors open and close on their own. The Fuinjutsu Uzumaki can be capable of wonders like this, Hana explained with a smile. There is no doubt that Fuinjutsu Uzumaki is one of the most impressive ninja arts in the world, Kakashi said in amazement. And wasn't that taught at the academy along with the history of Konoha? Now I can see the ignorance of our people, Sakura said with an angry tone. In this way, Hana led them throughout the empire, and as they walked, they all saw the wonder of the place they were in. They walked along a stone path, and around them there were people of different types, tall, short, dark-skinned, swordsmen, and there were even people with distinctive clothing from other villages such as Kumo, Iwa, and Kiri. It's a beautiful place, Sakura said, admiring the place. Look what beautiful flowers planted around, Ino said with stars in her eyes. It looks like it's a nice place. You can even see clouds anywhere, Shikamaru said, looking at the sky. It's a good place. And it seems that they love animals very much, Kiba said, looking at the people in their homes with pets. Yes, they even have cats, said his girlfriend with emotion. A barbecue restaurant. I want to go, Choji shouted, looking at a restaurant that said, Swirl Barbecue. I don't suggest you go. We have to get to the palace to talk to Naruto-san, and if you leave, it will be a problem, Shino told him seriously. Look, a ninja weapons store. I want to see what kind of weapons they have, Tenten shouted with excitement when she saw a weapons store called the Red Whirlwind Weapons Store. Stay with us, Tenten, although I must admit that this place is beautiful. I can see many people living freely and without any fear. It's like the dream that Hinata-sama always had for our clan came true, Niji said, looking at everything sadly. Marvelous, a beautiful place full of youth, and where the dawn shines with great brilliance, Lee shouted with emotion. Sakura could only look at the place with interest, seeing everything that Naruto had managed to build with his efforts, and thought that it was such a beautiful place only because Naruto had turned it into that kind of place. Then, they managed to reach a huge white palace that they had to look up to see in its entirety. Well, he's not modest, Shikamaru said with a frown. Do not get wrong. This palace was built by order of the Moon Empress because she says that if they are to be emperors, they must have what they deserve. She is the one in charge of this type of thing and everything related to the emperor's image, relationships, and his family. Now take off your sandals before entering, Hana said seriously. Everyone did as he said, and after leaving their sandals at the entrance, they entered the palace to walk through the beautiful interior towards the meeting place. After seeing a little of the wonderful interior of the palace, they arrived at huge double doors that opened in the presence of Hana, and upon entering, they could see two huge stone thrones in what seemed to be the throne room, one orange and one purple. What beautiful thrones! Some thought when they saw them. Hana stopped in front of some cushions that were in the middle of the room and said seriously, You can settle into those cushions and wait for whoever is going to receive you. I have to go do some work in the Empire. Isn't Naruto going to receive us? Sakura asked worriedly. Just sit back and wait. They will attend to you soon, was the only thing Hana said before leaving. When they were alone, everyone looked around as they were nervous about what their reunion with Naruto would be like, and if he would be happy to see them again. They were waiting for a long time, until the door behind the thrones opened and everyone saw a person enter who left them speechless. Wow! I never thought I would see my companions in front of me again. I guess I couldn't wait for a good day with his repulsive presence coming to ruin it, said a beautiful young woman with dark purple hair, a beautiful lavender kimono in which her enormous attributes were demonstrated, and lavender eyes that looked at them all with full eyes of icy coldness. Hinata, everyone shouted when they saw her. The beautiful Hinata Hyuga looked at them with the same coldness and walked towards the purple throne to sit on it while saying, Believe me, I'm not really happy to see you here. I was having such a wonderful day, when they tell me that we received a visit from my disgusting colleagues who only have shit in their eyes. We are lost, everyone thought with tears in their eyes. Sakura decided to take courage and asked Hinata. Hinata. Empress-sama for you. The purple-haired woman interrupted as she placed her face in her hand and looked at her with contempt. The pink-haired girl felt a stone with the words. Hinata hates and despises you. On top of her, and with great pain, she continued with her question in the correct way. Empress-sama, where is Naruto? Hinata looked at her with a dangerous look and said with pure contempt. It seems that despite having been the most intelligent student at the academy, you are still the same stupid person who can't see beyond what she wants. Can't you figure out that you should call him Emperor-sama? Learn your place, damn bubblegum movie. Sakura felt another stone fall on top of her with the words, damn gumball plank, and felt even more horrible as Ino whispered pitifully. It seems that Hinata hates you too much, front. Sakura could only cry at that truth, and then, the Empress decided to take control of the situation, while saying, well, I guess I'll have to start this disgusting encounter myself. Tell me, what do the stupid Konoha shinobi want from our empire? Everyone felt a stone with the words. They hate us a lot. On top of them, and Kakashi decided to take control so there would be no problems. Well, we have come to bring a message from the Hokage to Emperor-sama, and we also wanted to speak with him if possible. Sakura, deliver the message. The pink-haired girl took out the scroll with some sadness, and Hinata just looked at the shadows seriously so that a black-haired woman that everyone recognized came out of them. Kurenai? Kakashi and Yamato said. The beautiful Kurenai Yui just looked at them neutrally and approached Sakura to take the scroll from her hands and show it to Hinata. The purple-haired girl looked at the scroll with her Byakugan activated, and after a while, she took it to place a finger covered in black lines that spread across its surface. After a while, Hinata nodded and began to unroll the scroll as she said, excuse us for being distrustful, but having an empire with such power, it is normal to have a protocol with nations that do not have true friendship and loyalty with us. They could not argue against it, and watched as the Empress read the scroll with serious eyes. After a while of reading, the calm purple-haired girl threw the parchment to the ground with fury and shouted with all the anger she possessed. Damn flaccida and powerful Pala sheets. Everyone trembled in fear at the purple-haired girl's display of anger, and some, like Niji, were stunned that she used such obscene language that it resembled that of a certain red-haired woman in sound. Kurenai approached Hinata and asked, what's wrong, Hinata-chan? The Hyuga only remained in place as she released a powerful killing instinct that made everyone tremble too much and shouted with authority. Call all Alliance members, call a meeting with all its leaders, and also call Naruto-kun. He has to know about this first of all. What do I have to find out? Asked a voice in the living room. Everyone turned their gaze to the doors of the Great Hall to find a handsome blonde in an Eastern Imperial battle attire looking at them with concern. Naruto, everyone shouted with joy.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.